As you can tell, I like to go fast. Our race team is really well prepared. We like to look good, but we also like to dress good, and that's why we shop at Franklin Road Apparel. I own the company, and I wear the clothes that we sell in that store. So check us out. We carry all the top brands: Baldwin, John Barbados, Billy Reed, Goodman brand, and on down the list. So come see us, Franklin Road Apparel, Franklin, Tennessee.
Lightweighting means reducing mass and consolidating parts. No one tackles these design and tooling challenges better than three-dimensional services. We'll provide flexible tooling solutions, including integrating parts, reducing design complexity, or even design changes. We're the go-to source for rapid manufacturing and low-volume production. Trust three-dimensional services to develop the most efficient approach to meet your lightweighting challenges today. Three-dimensional services. Prototype, production, proven.
Menards is the Midwest's ultimate home improvement store. Family owned since 1958, Menards is the one-stop shop where you always save big money. Get the Midwest's best selection nationwide when you shop online at menards.com. We make it easy to complete your projects around the house, big or small. From hardware to plumbing or paint to appliances, we carry it all. Visit menards.com today to save big money at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Everyone, welcome to the Memorial Day Classic from Lime Rock. It's been a big part of Trans Am for many years. In fact, this year is the anniversary, 55 years since Trans Am first came here. Peter Revson winning the first ever Lime Rock Trans Am event. This year, though, celebrates an absolute record field of TA2 cars, and with me to enjoy it, Cameron Parsons. And Cameron, I'd have to say that with this record field, this small circuit, this is going to be a tough weekend.
Yes, absolutely. This is the shortest track on the entire schedule, measuring only at 1.5 miles, only 7 corners. So on paper, it really looks like it'd be a simple track to learn, but we've been told by lots of the drivers in the paddock that's a difficult track to master. 7 corners that you have to get perfect and just pull tenths of a seconds off at each one. Also, just funny enough for this track, out of 7 turns, only one of them is a left-hand corner. So it makes an interesting case for how you set up the car, mainly for just right-hand corners.
Well, not only is the track very tight indeed, but as I mentioned, a record field of over 30 cars, and that's going to factor in as well.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to qualifying, that's one thing, trying to land that perfect lap in only those 7 corners. But also because it's only 1.5 miles, with so many cars on track, managing that traffic throughout this 100-mile race is going to be a big, big challenge through this whole thing. So you really got to be patient.
No question about it. Thanks, Cameron. We'll be hearing from Cameron later in the commentary. But now let's turn to our championship. And at the moment, it's being led by Rafa Matos, who knows all about Lime Rock and all about being patient. He has a 25-point lead, but can he maintain it here?
Yeah, it's still too early to, talk about, championship and that kind of thing. But it's certainly a comfortable lead going to this track, which is a very difficult one. We have almost 40 cars around this place, so it's going to be very busy in the race. And I think our biggest challenge is going to be dealing with lap traffic. I used to say, don't put your race in somebody else's hands, so we have to be careful when we go around them. But at the same time, you have to be aggressive because there's other cars behind you trying to overtake you. So You know, it's being patient, but also with a little bit of aggressiveness and being responsible. You know, it's a points race. It's a long championship, so we have to think about the big picture here.
Wise words from our current championship leader, Rafa Matos, a two-time Trans Am champion. And as you can see, as we welcome you to Lime Rock Park for the Memorial Day Classic. It's been this way for many, many years, and really looking forward to it this year. The trouble we've got at the moment is the rain, the weather. That's going to be the problem, because it's been raining this morning, and we've had quite a lot of downpour overnight. As you can see, there's some single-seaters out on track at the moment, and we are hoping that at least the weather that was predicted will stay away at least for the 100 miles we want. But I'm afraid to say that I think it's already drizzling right now. The crowds are never perturbed by it, I may add. And alongside me, Cameron Parsons, a regular on the West Coast as a driver, not necessarily knowing Lime Rock that well, but you've learned a lot about it, talking to the drivers and obviously watching it. What are your thoughts heading into this, given the weather?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I brought that California weather with me, but things are looking a little different now. So I put a few hundred laps on the simulator, find my way around the track, interviewed a bunch of the drivers. One of the key elements that we've seen here is that this track is tight, it's narrow, it's difficult to pass. So when it comes to trying to move forward and gain position, there's definitely going to be some challenges. Because the track is so short and there's so many cars on track, they're going to be running into traffic pretty early on, which means they can work that traffic to their advantage and try and make passing happen in that case.
Well, let's join the third member of our group this weekend. That's Greg Riggs, who, of course, is the track commentator here at Lime Rock, and he is down on the grid. Let's head over to Greg. Over to you.
Thank you, Johnny. Lots of stories to be told here at the Memorial Day Classic, not the least of which is the weather. First of all, a driver who's had some hard luck to begin the weekend. Let's bring in Dylan Archer.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I just want to say I wish we could have been out on track, but unfortunate situations. We lost a motor in qualifying, but trying to make the most of it, and we'll regroup for Mid-Ohio and be back better.
Dylan, you have a family history racing here at Lime Rock Park, and we know that they're rooting for you back home.
Yeah, so my Uncle Tom actually won this race in 1993 in Trans Am at Lime Rock, so I was hoping to do my best to carry on the tradition, but here we are and just trying to make the most of it.
Well, good luck for the rest of the season, Dylan Archer.
Yeah, good story from Archer there, but it's a real shame, actually, because Dylan, of course, is fighting for both the rookies and for that 20,000 in the Young Guns, and he was 3rd and 4th in those championships, and this is going to lose him major points, but yeah, what can you do? You lose a motor, what are you going to do?
Yeah, unfortunately, just no car is completely bulletproof. So we've seen throughout the year so far, I mean, this is round 6. Attrition is a major battle, race to race to race. And for anybody that's going for points, every finish counts. So you're trying to finish as high as you can, but even just taking the checkered flag can be a...
You know, it's an interesting footnote. We just mentioned Tommy Archer, a former winner here. Well, Boris Said was a former winner here. He's here this weekend, but not to race. He's here looking after Boris Said Jr., who's out on track right this very moment and taking his way and learning his way in single-seaters. So just a nice little footnote to say that the racing continues right across. Let's head down again to see what Greg's got. Down to you again, Greg Riggs.
Thank you, Johnny. We're down here with Adrian Lostowski. Adrian, changeable weather, one of the stories for today's race. What are you thinking in terms of going into the 100-mile feature race?
We dedicated ourselves to a full rain setup 2 hours ago, and we just said we're going to go out on full rain, and we're gambling that it's going to rain pretty hard during the race. So that's how we set it up. We softened everything up. We gave it a lot of wing. We're on rain tires, and we're planning for rain, basically.
How difficult is it, having not driven the car in the rain, changing the setup that drastically?
We've been here in the rain last year, so we have a little bit of experience, so I think we'll be okay. I'm pretty happy with the conditions now, and I'm pretty happy with the setup right now. I think it's going to help us rather than hurt us.
So you're committed to the rain tires regardless of what happens?
Exactly. Committed to rain tires no matter what happens.
That is Adrian Lostowski, the driver of car number 3. Let's send it back up to Johnny.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, no question about it. A tough weekend for Adrian Lostowski because we were out in practice watching him and we were sort of going, oh, this is great. He's right up there, top 3, top 4, and then suddenly he has to qualify where he expected it.
Yeah, he was turning some real quick times at the beginning there. Adrian was turning some real quick times at the beginning up towards the front. But then next lap around, we saw him come by and he came in with the flat. It turned out that somebody was released from the pits and Adrian, unfortunately, was just wrong place at the wrong time and got sandwiched between this car and another. Ended up colliding with them, ended up with the flat tire, and so he's been trying to recover and pick it back up since.
Great stuff you're going to be hearing from Cameron Parsons throughout the day, but once again, let's get down to Greg for the latest down on the pre-grid.
Keith Prochuk is here with us now. Keith, you're starting from 8th position. We're asking everybody the same question. What's your choice on tires?
We're on wets. I think the rain's going to be coming down a bit harder. So I think we'll be in a good position. Last year I was really fast in the wet. This year I'm pretty fast in the dry, but again, this is all of our first sessions in the wet. I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot.
Have you talked to the crew about the possibility of doing a tire change?
Yeah, we looked at the weather, and it might get drier, but our objective right now is start in the wet, make as many spots as we can, and then we'll just see what happens.
What will happen if you do have to make a pit stop?
Yeah, I guess we'll probably decide that on the fly. We're not really sure just yet.
That is Keith Prochuk, the driver of car number 9. Back up to Johnny.
Greg, because that is the question. It's all very well going to full wets. What would you do in this position? You're a driver. You've seen what the weather's done. He's right in predicting potentially more weather coming, but it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, right now we're about 20 minutes until the green flag, and so you're running out of time to make those decisions. We've had instances in the past where we show up with wet tires on one side and slicks on the other. So that when we have to make that decision, we're saying, okay, we're going to change whatever two we need to change to commit to a wet or a dry setup.
Yeah, you could see the sitting water there, and we got torrential rain. I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning because it woke me up. It was that loud on the hotel roof because it was just constant from about 9 p.m. last night, all night long. It stopped this morning, but then we got more rain when we got here about 9 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, it's been teasing us a little bit. I was making my rounds through the paddock, checking in on drivers this morning, and every time some sprinkles started coming down, I saw the drivers come out of the trailers and just kind of look around and try and see what the weather's going to be like in just a little bit.
Yeah, well, as always, as it was last year, we had a lot of rain last year, but this crowd is always undeterred. They love the Memorial Weekend at Lime Rock. They come out in their droves to enjoy it. And certainly coming out on the pre-grid is Greg and Greg Ricks. What's the latest down there, Greg?
Thank you, Johnny. We're down here now with Scott Borchetta, the driver of car number 48. Scott, you're one of the drivers who may have a little bit of a glimpse of the conditions of the racetrack since you were out earlier.
Yeah, we were able to do a few laps in our Group 10 car and just see what the grip of the tire is. And I have no rain experience, so this is going to be a survival race.
So you're going out on rain tires?
Yeah, I think pretty much the whole field's going out on rains. There's nobody that could handle this in slicks right now. Everybody's got to start on rains.
Any thoughts on making a pit stop?
Well, if we do get a dry line and the sun comes out, we're all going to go back to slicks. That would be the only time we'd come back in.
That is Scott Borchetta, the driver of car number 48.
As always, and as you can see, the umbrellas are up, the drizzle is down. Again, going back to the setup, we mentioned that one left-hander. Talk to me a bit about that, because let's just say it was dry. It's a compromise anyway to set up. You said it's like setting up for an oval.
Yeah, I've been told that this track is basically an oval track with a jump. And the left-hander, when it comes to setup, is basically a throwaway. You've got 6 turns that are all right-hand turns, and so those are the ones that you're trying to optimize your car for. Adrian Lostowski actually described it to me like this is 2 different tracks in one, because the first half is a little bit tight and twisty. The second half is higher speed. So you want a soft car for the beginning, you want a stiff one for the end. So even though it's simple with all right-hand turns, or almost all right-hand turns, there's still some complexity and compromise, as you say, to where you end up when you go on track.
Would you be nervous in a situation where the questions aren't answered? I know you drivers like to have control of your situation, but when it's like this, you really don't have, do you?
Oh, this is the worst spot to be in. I like it when it's full dry or when it's full rain.
Yeah.
But when you're not sure and it's going to be one or the other, there's nothing that you can do but sit there with your driver's suit and a helmet on, just waiting to see what happens. And when you're already on grid, you can only make minor adjustments from this point forward. So some drivers, we heard, some might commit to a wet setup, some might commit to a dry. From here, all you can really mess with are maybe shock changes and tire pressures.
And ultimately, your engineer is going to turn to you and say, you know, it's your choice, but here's what I would say, because that's his job. But it is a tough situation. No tough situation for Greg Ricks, though. We've got him working. Our producer is making sure he gets all the interviews. I'll explain why. Ben's not here in a moment, but let's head down once again to Greg Ricks.
Johnny, fastest rookie here for the Memorial Day Classic is Brent Cruz. Brent, you'll be starting in 4th. We know that you come from a dirt track background. Does that help you under these rainy conditions?
Well, I don't really know. I don't know if it will or or not. I'm guessing dirt really won't do much because you want to keep it as straight as you can with not a lot of wheel spin, and dirt's really the opposite. I hope it really transfers, and if it does, we'll be good.
Any thoughts on making a tire change during the race if the weather improves?
I don't know. I think it's going to take too much time because no one's really prepared. None of the crews are prepared to make a super fast pit stop, and I just think it's going to take too much time.
That is Brent Cruz. He's the driver of car number 40, and he starts in 4th position. Back to Johnny.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, Brent Cruz, really interesting kid, a multiple world champion in karts, and is taking this Trans Am field by storm. He was fastest in first practice, and he is definitely one to watch as a young gun and as a rookie, just a kid, and already fighting with the likes of Matos and many others. Let's head down once again to Greg. He's got another interview for us.
Thomas Merrill is with us now. Thomas, you're starting right up at the front of the field. What are your expectations for a wet race start?
I have almost zero expectations at the moment. All the hard work from yesterday is right out the window. The good news is it's the same for everybody. The big challenge for us is going to be getting this many cars through turns 1 and 2 clean. If we can do that, we can settle into a nice pace and hopefully put on a good show. But to be honest, I think we're going to see some yellows. So I think it's going to be about managing the car and being there at the end, really.
Have you given any thoughts to making a pit stop?
No, not at all. That's a good idea, actually. I'll put that in the game plan. No, I think it's going to be wet all the way through, but it may not be super wet, so we got to keep the tire on the race car.
That is Thomas Merrill. Let's send it back up to Johnny.
Yes, and just to explain, Ben, a weekend off for Ben Sissel, I'm afraid. He's under the weather this weekend, just as the weather is playing a part here. So we wish Ben well, and he'll be back as soon as he can be. But let's take a look at the full grid then for today's race, the Memorial Classic here at Lime Rock. And it's no surprise that the man who was on pole position this time last year and pretty much dominated all of practice and qualifying is that man of the moment, Mike Skeen, the man from Charlotte, North Carolina. But the Ford Mustang doing a great job and doing in a really good record time of 51.4.
Our multiple pole award winner is Mike Skeen, driver of car number 89. Pole position qualifying time 51.445 seconds around the mile-and-a-half track here at Lime Rock Park.
So let's take a look at the onboards now. Already the pole man with a 51.445. Skeen in brilliant form in the three-dimensional services group. He's not doing the full season, but he's still very much a contender for the championship and as fast as you like. He's also doing IMSA this year, hence he's not doing the full season, but whenever he's in a Trans Am car, he is competitive, and of course he was pole here last time. Alongside him, though, will be Misha Goikberg, the man from Canada in the BC Race Cars Ford Mustang. And alongside him in third place will be, or just behind, will be Thomas Merrill. We just spoke to him, the man from California. And Thomas Merrill lines up on row 2. And alongside him, another one of the youngsters that we just spoke to, Brent Cruz. So, Rafa Matos, our championship leader, starts 5th. Connor Zilic is 6th. Evan Slater, 7th. Pro Chuck in 8th position. Tyler Casera in 9th position. Cameron Lawrence in 10th. Lostowski. Then Adam Andretti. Disappointment for Adam Andretti. He's usually quicker than that here. He was quicker here last year, but he's 1.1 off the leaders in 12th position. Danny Bender in just his 3rd race is right there with Darren Mock. Then it's Anderson and Borchetta, 15th and 16th. Incidentally, Scott Borchetta in the slower group, they did it in group sessions yesterday. He was the only one to get into that faster group. Petty Pass, the man from Canada, Aaron, starts in 17th place. Rhett Barku in 18th. Peterson, Bose, Abate, Michelle Abate, 21st. Katenchi in 22nd position. Then Lustig, Sheehan, Young, Winston, Gallagher, Leesfield, Jeffrey Birdwell, 29th. Patrick Sanders and Connor Mosack, who got a brilliant 4th place last night in ARCA, will start at the back because he didn't do practice and qualifying, so watch for him to come through. Again, I'm joined by Cameron Parsons, who looking forward to this, I know, and has been talking to some of the drivers. We've got some great youngsters out there, many of which have never taken on Lime Rock. This is the toughest way to take on a new track, especially when it's so short.
Yeah, I mean, just jump right into wet conditions. I mean, they're just being thrown in the fire. But I was talking to Brent Cruz earlier, for example. He told me, even though he's never been here before, he was putting in a few hours on the racing simulator, and I'm sure that's what everybody's doing in preparation.
Where it is, it's clipping now.
So as they get ready, they watch videos, they look up on YouTube, finding onboards, they download the simulators and everything. They do everything they can to just at least get a sight, get a visual of what a fast lap looks around this track. And then when you actually get the simulator, actually I did the same thing. I downloaded Lime Rock Park for Assetto Corsa. This group called VRC developed a TA2 mod actually based on my own car, so I got to drive my car in the simulator to learn my way around Lime Rock, and I'm sure half these drivers are doing the same.
Yeah, I think that is a very modern way of doing it, and I totally understand that. How accurate do you think, now you've been here, it is?
Surprisingly good. I mean, Sims have come a long way. VRC did a great job with the TA2 mod, and then Assetto Corsa is known for just having realistic tire physics and everything. So at the very least, you can learn a lot to figure out your marks, find your visuals, so that once you're at the track, it's all familiar territory when you're seeing it for the first time in real life.
And as you've seen, we'll be on board with Scott Borchetta, we'll be on board with Mike Skeen, Rafa Matos, Adam Andretti's also got it on board, Barry Bowes and Cameron Lawrence. Here's Rafa Matos' three-dimensional services group on board. It'll be always interesting to see. I'm interested to see how he and Brent Cruz, and we haven't mentioned this yet, came together in practice and had a bit of fisticuffs, or at least a little bit of not so happy. It's only practice after all, but they did come together, and there was damage to both cars. They start alongside each other. Rafa, of course, the champion, and Brent Cruz, the new upstart, if you will, making his way. So he would love to take it to Rafa today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's probably a little bit of finger pointing going on between who did what. I don't think we're ones to judge from where we are. But I think it's kind of a sign of what we're going to be seeing in the race, too, because this track is just that tight. And so everybody's got to do their part in making sure that everybody's clean and safe as they make their way around here. Whether you're the faster car making a pass or the slower car being passed, it's everybody's responsibility to give room and make sure that you're visible to whatever car you're sharing this track with.
As we look down, the car's getting ready to go out. It's going to be tough conditions. The track is wet. There is no rain at the moment, but that could change quickly. Let's head down once again to the pre-grid and join Greg Ricks.
We commemorate the sacrifices that form the foundation of Memorial Day. Please join me in welcoming the color guard from the Cas Morse Honor Guard of the Connecticut State Police. It's my pleasure now to introduce the Reverend Heidi Truex from the Trinity Church, who will deliver today's invocation.
Let us pray. God, our Creator, our uplifting and consoling presence at all times. It's a beautiful race day on this Memorial Day weekend at Lime Rock Park, and it's been a tough couple of weeks for our country. God help us and be with our neighbors nearby in Buffalo and far away in Uvalde as they grieve losses in their communities, especially the loss of children. We are both thankful this day, and we keep others in our hearts who have had a tragic loss. We thank you also, God, for our veterans of the wars of the United States of America. We are especially grateful to remember on this Memorial Day weekend all who have served our country in the past. Let light perpetual shine upon those who have died, protecting us and our freedom. Finally, today, we ask your blessing, Lord God, upon all our racers and all of us, the fans, and bless the Lime Rock Park employees and volunteers. Let us remember that it's one race at a time. Keep us safe. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we would ask you all please to stand. It's my pleasure to introduce from the Sharon Playhouse, Katie Weiser.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's bring in now our Grand Marshal for the Memorial Day Classic. You met him earlier, introduced by Skip Barber. This is Anthony DeMonte, the CEO of the Skip Barber Racing School. Anthony, time for the most anticipated words in motorsports.
Racers, start your engines!
Going on right underneath our commentary position, which currently is literally rumbling with that noise of these thunderous cars. It is always a wonderful moment in motor racing, but especially at Trans Am, celebrating its 55th year. I wonder what Peter Revson, who won the first race in a Cougar, would think. Many of the greats have raced here over the years, and soon they will run down that Sam Posey straight into the first corner in very unpredictable conditions. Alongside me, Cameron Parsons. And Cameron, this is going to be a tough race, and it doesn't matter how much experience or how good you are, you cannot predict what the others are going to do and what the weather's going to do.
Yeah, I mean, racing is so much about adapting to situations that you're not expecting, right? And so, especially when we've got mixed up weather conditions like this, we've got this many cars on track. I've had conversations with other drivers in the past where we're kind of plotting out, okay, what are you going to do on the start? I'm going to try this line, I'm going to try that. strategies or how many paths you try and talk yourself through, as soon as that green flag drops, anything can happen from there.
So it's going to be interesting. We're going to have 2 formation laps. And that's sensible because David Hoots, the race director, will be thinking to himself, well, look, let's get them having 2 laps. One, it'll do one of 2 things. In these drying conditions, because it isn't raining at the moment, it will give themselves a chance to dry the circuit out with these hot engines and hot cars. But 2, it'll give each and every driver, especially the youngsters who've not raced here, a chance to see just how good and how grippy the conditions are. What would you be looking for if you had 2 formation laps?
Yeah, a couple things are going on here. I mean, the formation laps, it's a good thing we have 2 of them because this track is so short, so you need that extra time to get things warm. But on top of that, with building heat in the brakes, getting the motor warmed up and ready to go, you're looking around on the course. This is kind of a recon lap, so that you can hunt around, try and find, okay, is there a dry line? Where are the puddles? What's wet? What's damp? Is there any standing water anywhere? Is there any grass or dirt or any debris left over from the previous group that went out? So taking these 2 laps, you've got enough time to really look around, scan the track, and kind of plot out, okay, where is the track a little spotty? Where am I going to have grip for this opening lap?
Well, as you can see, the championship standings on the left-hand side there. Rafa Matos with a 25-point lead. And that's why Rafa, currently in 5th position at the start of this race, has to be careful. The worst thing he could do today is give any points away to Tyler Casera and Thomas Merrill, who aren't that far behind. I didn't mention Mike Skeen purposely because although he's 2nd, he's not going to be doing the full season. So it's Casera he needs to watch, Merrill he needs to watch, and Cameron Lawrence. So Rafa Matos really just needs to finish cleanly. He doesn't need to get in a scrap with Brent Cruz or any of the other youngsters. And he almost basically admitted that to us earlier in the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, and at this point, this is round 6 out of 12 races, I think, for the season. So we're hitting the halfway point. So any DNFs or mechanical issues or whatever attrition we face in the first half of the year, you don't want to be dealing with any more of that. This is where things start to tighten up from this race forward. And so, yeah, there are drivers that are doing a partial season. They're going for the wins. They're going for the podiums. But everybody else is thinking purely about points. They want consistency. They want to finish regularly as high as they possibly can, but they've got to do it safely. So you might start seeing, fewer and fewer aggressive moves or chances being taken, and you've got to approach it much more calculated from this point forward.
It's an hour of racing, 100 miles. Where can you overtake? You've been talking to Dylan and a few other drivers this morning. What did they tell you?
This is such a difficult track to pass on, and so as you might expect, at least turn 1 is the biggest opportunity of all. It's a little bit more of a straightforward corner. It's a little bit wider. You've got grip both high and low, so if you can get your nose in there and squeeze in, it can be done. For the rest of the track, it's actually very difficult. You almost have to wait for an opportunity for a mistake to be made or something like that. But no matter what, you've got to be setting up these passes at least 1 or 2 corners ahead of time because these sections are so short till the next turn.
Well, they're coming over the crest of the hill that is turn 5 and down towards 6, and then they run down through the turn 6 corner and down underneath this bridge into the final turn, turn 7. And it's somewhat ironic that Mike Skeen, the pole man in a Mustang, will be leading them on to the Sam Posey straight. Sam Posey winning in a Ford Mustang in 1969 right here at Lime Rock Park. History somewhat repeating itself here, but it's 2022. We have a record field here at Lime Rock Park, and we are racing. Good start from Misha Goikhberg, but he doesn't quite get the better, or does he? Yes! Goikhberg takes the lead for BC Racing. The Canadian, racing as close to home as he can, takes the lead away from our poleman Skeen. On board with Cameron Lawrence, with Prochuk ahead of him. On board with Skeen in 2nd place, just settling through turn 3 and into the right-hander 4, and now things start to settle down, but Cameron, nice clean start.
Yeah, that was a great one. I mean, the Trans Am rules have it set. They like you to be packed up side by side, everybody getting on the gas at the exact same time when the green flag drops. But still, milliseconds count, and Goikhberg right there just caught Skeen just a tiny bit behind, took advantage, and just comfortably worked his way into turn 1. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I think Skeen's playing the long game. He knows he doesn't need to make any heroic moves on the first corner, and so he didn't. On board with Lostowski coming into 7. Now you see the traffic.
Yeah, it's already building up. I mean, these cars are going to be so close, especially in the top 10, top 15. Their qualifying lap times were right together. So we're definitely going to be seeing a front group kind of stay collected through this race, and I'm sure they're going to just be swapping positions left and right through this whole thing.
Now, we heard Prochuk interviewed, we heard several drivers interviewed about what they were going to decide to do. Some thinking wet, some thinking dry. I think most will go on the dry setup, but we'll soon find out. If there are people on a wet setup now, it's dry. I think they could actually be several on the wrong tires right now.
Yeah, that's the gamble, right? When you're about 10 minutes away from getting to grid, you've got to make a decision. So do you commit to a wet setup? Do you commit to dry, or do you try a little bit of something in between? And so for lots of these drivers, they might be trying something in between, but the rain tires versus the slicks, that's full commitment. You have to pick one or the other. So the cool thing is, we've got a mix of tires, we've got a mix of setups. Those wet tires will surely burn up a lot quicker if it stays as dry as this. So I know that those guys are going to be hoping for rain to come through.
What you've got to watch for is guys taking odd lines as the track dries out, because if they're on a wet setup, they'll want to keep finding those little wet patches to make sure that they keep the tires cool, because as we all know, wet weather tires on a dry circuit, they don't last too long.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get heat in the tires because that's what kind of activates the compound to generate the most grip. And so wet weather tires run a much softer compound, but the thing is, if you run them in the dry, they're going to be softer than bubble gum when they're done with them.
Yeah.
So they're looking for those wet patches to keep them cool. And on top of that, when the rain does start coming down, if it starts coming down, it'll collect up, it'll kind of find those spots of the track that are a little bit sealed up and less gritty, and those spots can become real slippery. So you might see some drivers drive partially offline to avoid those areas too.
Yep, 66 laps to go, and it's Misha Goikberg leading the way at the moment, ahead of Mike Skeen. Skeen just biding his time at the moment in second place. Merrill is third. Both Skeen and Merrill winners here in the past. Rafa Matos is fourth. He's gained one spot. Slater is fifth, and Casera in sixth place at the moment. A little further back, we're looking also, Borchetta's dropped a couple of places. Brent Cruz dropped to eighth at the start. He, of course, starting ahead of Matos, so Brent Cruz not the start from the number 70, the youngster. But here comes Ski.
He's peeking through the mirrors. He's making sure that he's visible, keeping the pressure on Goikberg there. I mean, you don't want to try any silly passes or anything, but he is definitely making his presence known here.
That is great aggressive driving from Mike Skeen. He's keeping his foot on as they come down under the bridge towards 7. He's surely going to make a move here, but there's no way to do it. The next obvious is at the end of this Samposi straight, and the Mustang lining himself up as Misha Goikberg makes a slight mistake, and here comes Skeen on the outside. Can he make that stick?
Oh, wow. I think the pressure that Skeen is putting on Goikberg is working, because Goikberg, you can see he's sliding. He's moving out towards the outside, opening up doors. As long as Skeen keeps the pressure up and keeps his car solid, all he has to do is maybe just wait for a mistake or a little bit of an extra slide.
Well, if anybody's a master at putting pressure on, it's Mike Skeen. He's so comfortable in his own skin when he's in a race car. And Misha Goikberg, if he doesn't know it already, is under massive pressure at the moment. Thomas Merrill right there, ready to pick up the pieces if Skeen gets it wrong. But Skeen's got nothing to lose. He just wants to win this race, just as he did last year.
Yeah, in this sort of situation, I mean, you can see Matos and Merrill, they're kind of just hanging back, letting that battle just unfold at the front, because for as long as those guys are fighting, it's going to keep them slowing down. And who knows what can happen, but it can open up opportunities for these third and fourth place guys. Dip some wheels in the dirt.
Mistake. Onto the straight. That's the second time he made that same mistake coming out of 7, and now Skeen goes through. So Mike Skeen takes the lead for the three-dimensional services in the Mustang to lead this race, the man from pole, and also going through Thomas Merrill. So big mistake from the Canadian.
That's a tough part when these cars are so close in their performance and these drivers are so close in talent. As soon as the door opens, it's real easy to get freight trained. You get knocked offline and you can see right there more cars to sneak past, and as soon as one gets through, it's so much easier for the next one to sneak past as well.
And the drone shot really shows you just how tight it is in these group races. As we look at Tyler Casera still in the hunt, very much so, in the number 77, just going through shot in 6th place as we go on board with Evan Slater. Now don't forget the all yellow car you see ahead of Rafa Matos. There's 4 of these cars. They're all fighting for position. We're watching where Andretti is going to pop out. He's up to 12th already, having had a bad qualifying. Somebody going wide there as we go back on board with Evan Slater chasing Rafa Matos.
Yeah, and you can already see the track is starting to dry up. We can see it on the straightaway in front of us. So it's hopefully those ones that got the setup right, that's got to be paying off right now.
Casera getting side by side with Slater. Slater, another one of the youngsters, making a name for himself with the 3Cube team. And Tyler Casera, still a youngster, I suppose, but really just bounced onto the scene just a couple of years ago. But now, since he's joined the Stevens Miller Racing team, he has become the complete article, a full team behind him now. It used to be just him and his family going to races, but now Tyler Casera getting the full support. And as they go up over 5, somebody's slowing. And not quite sure who that is yet, going on board with Cameron Lawrence. And look at the group he's fighting with. 5 or 6 there. As already now, Merrill starting to stretch his legs, having got past Skeen. So Merrill now leads this race.
Yep, Merrill Lawrence right there, sneaking on the inside out of turn 7 and landed it.
I'm going to correct myself there. Skeen is still in second, but Merrill has got ahead. So that's what happened. Merrill 56.8 that last lap as we go back on board with Mike Skeen. Now he's currently running in what, 3rd place, because from Merrill has got ahead of him. So we're starting to spread out now, and this is all that Merrill needed to get ahead, and now these two pulling away from the rest of the group, and that's what they'll want. It becomes a lot different of a race when you're just concentrating on one rather than 15 other cars.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's becoming apparent now is now that the track is drying, the conditions are changing, and so we're seeing the different setups starting to pay off, and so who got it right is definitely pulling further and further ahead now.
Andretti up to 9th now, so Adam Andretti, who had a poor qualifying, but that's always the way with Adam. He never really talks too much about qualifying, and then in the race he's there or thereabouts, and he's trying to catch Rafa. Somebody coming in, is that Goikberg, I wonder? We'll soon
that looked
find
like
out.
Goikberg. He was falling down just a little bit. Oh.
No, Goikberg is going down the main straight in the number 20, but going slowly. So problems for the Canadian. I thought he was in trouble of some sort. I thought he was going to come into the pits, but instead he's carried on out there, but just gone really slow through turn 1. From high above, this field now starting to spread out, but of course that just means they're going to catch up with some of the other traffic involved, with over 34 cars involved in this field. It's only a matter of time. You can see from the cars in the car pack how interested people are and how much they support this Memorial Classic, and it's already turning into one. Mike Skeen getting very close indeed onto the main straight, making a move on Ty Young now.
Yep, so already that means they're coming up onto lap traffic.
Tyler Casera doing everything to get past Rafa, but he can't do it, the Stevens Miller Racing man. Tyler Casera and Rafa Matos side by side through 1, round the outside, going around the long way, Tyler Casera, and he's done it! Nicely done! And he's passed the number 88. Well done to him, because that was really tough driving. And he's passed Rafa in that one. Skeen's still up in 2nd place, but this is turning out well for the man who did his first line rot last year, got 8th place, did Tyler Casera, and looking good at the moment.
Yeah, it's really cool. That was a nice clean pass. He actually managed it around the outside. So like I was saying, there can be grip on the inside and outside. You just have to manage it. And he shut that door just right at the last moment to keep him from trying to come back around after completing that pass.
Evan Slater now right behind Rafa as they come down the hill and into the final corner, turn 7.
You can see he started to sneak up too. If you want to try and get a pass into 1, that pass starts on your entry into turn 7. That's where you got to build up that speed on this short straightaway.
Cameron, we now got a definite dry line.
Yeah, the dry line is there, so I'll be curious to see who's sticking to it and who's trying to stay off of it.
Now, first real look at Adam Andretti in 8th position. He's got Brett Barco behind him in the Dodge. And Dodge have had a win here before. Let's not forget, they haven't had many here. But they have won in the past as we go back down. And one of the BC cars is in. And is it the 20?
There it is. The wet tires are coming off.
Yeah.
Dry tires are going on.
That was the problem Misha was having, is that he was coming out of 7 on wet tires on a drying line and finding himself no grip.
Yeah, that's a difficult part. So, I mean, he was able to command that lead at the start because the track was still wet, but those conditions just change so fast. And then you got to do the math. Is it going to be worthwhile to take the time to change tires?
And look at Tyler Cesare not holding back. He goes on the inside at 7, takes 2. Rafa Matos down the main straight. And he too is pulling offline to I don't know if he may well be on wets too, and therefore having to struggle to stay out, hoping that it will rain, because he took a very strange line through there, looking as though he was looking for some wet patches. So Rafa could have been caught out by this. And as we said at the beginning, we don't know what their strategy is until they actually get on track. So we're now working out who's on wets, who's on dries, but obviously we now know that Goikberg was on the wets and has now changed to the dries. He'll be back out soon as Rafa Matos. Let's take a look at Rafa's lap times. He was cutting, what, 58 compared to the leader's 56. So Rafa's still on pretty good pace at the moment.
Yeah, and pretty consistent too. I mean, he started at about a minute in the early lap times and then has progressively been getting faster and faster. So the track is starting to even out. We're seeing cars kind of find their pace as the conditions stay the same. And smoke down by turn 1, it looks like. Yeah, that looks a bit ominous, doesn't it? That's not normal. Somebody may have blown up there, because coming into turn 1, there is a runoff there underneath our camera position, just to the right of this shot. I've seen cars go down there before, so let's keep an eye on that one. But plenty of overtaking going on with different tyre strategies, or at least different tyre ideas. Expecting rain that hasn't come yet, but they could all get it right if it does start to rain. It's been raining most of the last 24 hours, but suddenly it all cleared just as we cleared the grid. Amazing. Stay on board with Rafa Matos. 13 of the 68 gone. Thomas Merrill weaving his way through. Great start from Thomas Merrill, the man from Salinas, California, who really didn't have the best of California dreams last time out. In fact, it was a rotten weekend for him. Really wanting to bounce back this weekend. And likewise, Mike Skeen looking to do what he always does at Lime Rock, which is dominate. Casera now up to 3rd. Slater, Lawrence, Matos has dropped to 6th. Further down, Borchetta still 16th. Pettipas, the new boy, if you will, in 17th position. Peterson 18th, Abate 19th, and Tommy Sheehan in 20th position. Yeah, it's so funny to see some of these drivers, I think Merrill being one of them, even Andretti, it's like they do their best when the odds are stacked against them. It's they can start, they have the pace to always start up front, but somehow they get mixed up in bad luck. But it's like when they get pushed back behind for whatever reason, they've got that extra drive, and they've managed to find their way moving forward through the field.
I don't think that Rafa Matos is under any stress right now. I think he knows that effectively he just needs to get a good finish position out of this. He doesn't need to get any fisticuffs with anybody. He's got that gap at the front. He just wants to walk away from here, knowing the conditions, knowing how small a track this is, knowing the number of people in the field, and having already had a crash with one of the youngsters this weekend. I think he's trying to stay out of trouble. Just seen that the 86 came in, so that proves that perhaps that Adam Andretti was on wets to start with, and has now come in to get dries because he was making good hay while it was wet out there, but now it's dry, and Rafa Matos has just done his fastest lap at 57.9. So the track's starting to come to Rafa now as we go on board with Cameron Lawrence. Nice move into the left-hander.
Yeah, things are getting a little crowded in 3, 4, and 5. Looks like he's on Winston right now in lap traffic. Just kind of switching back, finding these opportunities, hoping these guys leave an opening. So far, lap traffic has been very courteous in letting these faster cars come through, though.
Yeah, that was Cameron Lawrence actually making his way through lap traffic rather than making up a place in left-hander, but he nicely made work of that, but now he's got to continue that work.
Yeah, the difficult part is, too, you can see the next cars behind him also doing their best work through the traffic, and every car that you're going to pass in this is going to be more difficult to pass than the last one. And so when you're lapping cars, first through those first couple that you come across, we got another car pitting here. It looks like the three-dimensional services.
It's another one
mostly.
of the three-dimensional services cars. We'll find out in a moment who it is, because in a moment they'll come into our view. Somebody else locking up there. I think that's Pettipas. Just trying to see what's happened. It is Rafa Matos, our championship leader, has just pulled out. And now the question is, he pulled out of the race, I wonder. Back to find out. They are going to put tyres on him. It's amazing, actually, because he was putting in fastest laps, so I presume he was on wet, it looks like. Yes, he was. And so Rafa doing a hell of a job early in this race in wet and drying conditions. But now he's just got to the point where he has to come in. And that's why he started to drop down the order.
Yeah, I am impressed that he was keeping the pace so consistently.
I thought he was on dries because he was doing excellent laps. Pretty impressive. So Rafa Matos proving why he is our championship leader. 17 laps gone off the 68, so there's time for the Brazilian to get back out there. But it's Merrill leading by 3 seconds over Mike Skeen. Then Casera, Slater, Lawrence, Baku now to the top 6 in the Dodge. Prochuk 7th, Matos drops down the board. He's now down in 8th, but of course he'll lose that position, but they should get him out fairly quickly as we go on board with the Texan, Barry Bowes. Into left-hander. He's just behind Barco, I think, in that Dodge. Can't miss it, can you?
No, the lone Dodge in the field, and we were saying we need to see more of those Dodges show up to these. They're always cool to see. Barco actually is with a Chrysler dealership, is that right?
Yes, right, yeah.
So they're representing the brands that they sell, which is cool to see.
Really good. Adam Andretti getting past there as he comes up the hill at the end of No Name Straight. So Andretti now starting to fly as we'd expected to, because he came in earlier and changed 2 slicks as well. I'm guessing what both Matos and Andretti were hoping was get the wet weather tyres on, maybe get a delay, and the rain would clear up and they'd have time to come in, but there has been no rain, so they had to come in. They were kind of hoisted by their own petard a little bit there. Ty Young coming through shot in the 22.
Yeah, this is one of the difficult things you got to decide on, because taking a pit stop takes so much time, and especially when you got to change tires on top of that. So like I said earlier, you're doing the math. Will we gain time or lose time by doing this by the end of the race? Come in, lost positions, lost time. They're committed to that tire change, so now they're going to hope that the weather does not change even more, where they might need to go back, because that's only going to cripple them.
Yeah, no question. And both Andretti and Matos all the way down in 22nd place. So it's going to be an almighty drive now for both of them to get through this field. They're just coming up on Barry Bowes, who we were on board with a minute ago. And Andretti dispenses with Bowes fairly quickly. And Rafa and Ty Young having to wait. But I think Rafa's up the road already. Ty Young coming across the main straight as Bowes pulls in. So Bowes makes a pit stop. He looks as though he's going to do similar.
Yep, passed by another car. It looks like they're doing a tire change. That is just the theme for this race.
Now at the front, Thomas Merrill is doing 56s, so he's obviously on the slicks, and he's making hay right now. He's got a good gap of over 2 seconds over Mike Skeen, and he's sitting pretty at the moment anyway.
Yeah, as long as conditions stay the same, he's definitely in good shape. And it looks like those top 3 cars still have a little bit of a pack going, but they are kind of leaving 4th place and on.
It's interesting. Brent Cruz is down in 25th. Matos is in 26th, so they're back against each other again.
And there went another 3-dimensional car into pit lane, so it looks like they all went on the same tire strategy.
Yeah.
And we only have limited crew out here for every team, so it seems like they're kind of prioritizing which driver comes in first, who's most important to get tires on as quick as possible.
Yeah,
as soon as they finish that tire change, bring in the next one.
Exactly, no surprise. Doug Peterson yet to come in, but that was the 89 that did come in. And that's Mike Skeen coming in from 2nd place. So Skeen, actually, now again, a bit like Matos, has done a remarkable job to stay out as long as he did, 20 laps on those tyres, and now he's basically got rid of them. They've fallen apart, he's had to come in. So Skeen is in, and that gives Casera 2nd place.
Yep, situations like this is where you see the experience start to shine through, because lots of drivers can be fast, but their ability to adapt to just the weirdest things being thrown at you like this, that is where that experience really shows through and pays off.
Yeah, no question about it. Thomas Merrill marching on there. First real look at him, the leader with the HP Tuners car, the number 26. Thomas Merrill grew up in a racing family from Salinas, California, grew up around Laguna Seca, around your part of the world, so I'm sure he's well known there. They're farmers, and Thomas Merrill has been a long time proponent of Trans Am racing, and I hope it continues for many years to come.
Yeah, being in the Bay Area around California, we don't get as much rain as you do out at a track like this.
All
but
right,
I would imagine, I would imagine Sonoma Laguna, though, he gets a little bit of weather, so I know that Merrill's very, very comfortable in the wet.
Now, the question for Merrill in this particular race is how well does he deal with traffic? Look at Tyler Casera. You can see how quickly Tyler's going at the moment in 2nd place. He's really trying to steal a march and try to get on level terms. The gap is 3 seconds at the moment. We'll watch their times. They were very similar last time out, within a 10th of each other. And we'll keep an eye on this man, Rafa Matos, who leads the championship. There's Tyler Casera as they dives into turn 1. Let's see what the times are this time. 56.8, 56.7. Last time out, Merrill 58.4 and a 57.9. So this is getting interesting because Casera definitely making inroads. We go back as you see those ominous grey clouds in the background on board with Evan Slater.
Yeah, I think there's still a little bit of light sprinkling going on, but these cars, actually there is some more water coming down on Slater's windshield right now.
He's got the wipers on, so yeah.
So there's...
Oh yeah, there's a definite rain start. Well, here it is. Just as things were settling down, it's starting to rain again, folks. We go back on board with Lostowski.
Yeah, but I just saw Lostowski in the Hawk Performance car. He's slipping and sliding just a little bit more and more. Slick tires on a wet track do not mix. Before long, it's going to be like driving on oil if it gets any worse than this, and it looks like it is.
I wonder if Skeen's kicking himself for coming in a lap ago, because he was actually on the right tires, but by now those tires would have been pretty worn.
Exactly. The tough part is the condition of those rains, because just a few laps of driving rain tires on a dry track, they are used up. If they threw them back on in the wet now, they're definitely not going to be up to par with their regular performance. But depending how wet it gets, that might be the only choice they have.
Well, this has been a fascinating race so far. It's being led by Thomas Merrill out front. He's being chased hard by Tyler Casera. The blue flag's waving. Evan Slater, the youngster, is in third place. Cameron Lawrence for Rhett Bark, who is up to fifth place, a former Rookie of the Year. And Keith Prochuk in sixth place. Elias Anderson, looking for his best result of the year, is seventh. Scott Borchetta, likewise in eighth position at the moment. Did a good result at Sebring, but let's see if he can do that again. And the conditions at the back of the circuit, it seems, because I'm looking out of my window, I can see a bit of drizzle, but the circuit at the back is where it's most wet. Here we go. You can see it for yourself coming into seventh. The spits on the window are turning into big, bulging raindrops, and so it's going to get nasty out there as we look at the number 3 of Adrian Lostowski. Pick that number because he loved Dale Earnhardt, he told us.
Yeah, this track is nearly home territory for him.
Yes, it is.
So he's got some experience out here. He's got experience driving the wets. This is only his, I think, second year driving in TA2.
Right.
But he picked up on it real quick, and I pitted with him at Sonoma recently. And this is a team owner and driver who still likes to get his hands dirty. He's always underneath the car, wrenching on it. He doesn't just give commands. He gets in there and works on the car. So it's really cool to see out of the team owner and driver.
Yeah, and you make a very good point. He is a classic Trans Am driver, has done a lot of it himself. He was the runner-up in SGT a couple of years ago, then swapped over to Trans Am, and he's never looked back since, and he took to it like a duck to water, but you need to be like a duck to water today. I'm also going to look out for both Connor Zilic down in 28th position, Brent Cruz now down in 27th, and also Connor Mosack. We haven't mentioned him yet. Connor Mosack's in the middle of this field somewhere, but having started at the back, I wonder what he started on and how he's going on. He's currently listed as 25th on track at the moment, and so we'll keep an eye on as to what Connor both is on in terms of tyres, therefore whether he comes in or not, but he could come good and get some good points out of this, having started from the back. Brent Cruz, we believe, has got an engine problem and has retired. Just heard that from the pits. Brent Cruz, one of the early favourites here, started in the top 3 rows, and that's a real shame for him because the multiple kart champion, just a teenager, one of our youngest competitors, was looking very competitive until he had that engine problem. And likewise Dylan Archer, if you're wondering why he's not on your score sheets, he too had a motor issue yesterday and is sadly on the sidelines.
Yeah, speaking of Mosack as well, I mean, he had his work cut out for him because he was starting from the back for this race. And so he is kind of dialing it in, picking it up slowly. But he has not seen a lap of this track this weekend until that first pace lap, right? And so he's having everything thrown at him. You know, he didn't get a chance to warm up. Now he's got all these mixed up conditions. So he's got a lot to try and learn all at once here.
You can see when you look at the bottom left how Andretti is working the wheel, looking in his mirrors, over 100 miles an hour, and from the outside it looks nice and smooth. But when you see that on board, you see how much work he's doing. You see it here.
Well, it's cool to see. He's kind of controlling a really mild oversteer. He's kind of pitching the car in just a little bit, letting the car do the rotation for him. So even despite the car sliding around, yeah, he's making it look a lot calmer from the cockpit than what we're seeing from the outside.
Great onboard shots here as Lime Rock again throws up its weather and mystery here on Memorial Weekend. Under the San Posey straight and under the bricks they come into turn 1. Adam Andretti looking to make up more places. He's currently in 19th position, well ahead of his teammate at the moment. But it's early days as we go back with Evan Slater now, one of the youngsters. We were just talking about Brent Cruz going out. Evan Slater is far from going out. In fact, he's on a podium position at the moment if he keeps this up. But I think there's a long way to go yet 49 minutes, in fact, 27 of the 68 gone.
Yeah, and Slater right now is sitting second place in the Young Gun standings.
Yep.
His main goal has got to be just to hold off Mozak, who's currently sitting in first, but starting from the back. So basically, as long as he keeps him behind him for this race, works that traffic to his advantage, he's going to be in a good spot by the end of this.
This is good stuff from Lostowski as he dives to the outside, and the inside line taken by the 26. And Thomas Merrill letting him unlap himself, I think.
Yeah, that is interesting. And with these conditions right now, I mean, I look outside.
Doesn't want to race him, does he?
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
And there's still a dry line, but with how much water there is coming down, as long as you stay on the line, you're going to have a dry line. But if you put a wheel off of it, it is getting slipperier and more slippery. So you want to stay in line, and making a pass like this is becoming more and more risky because this is wet.
Yeah, very. And just out of no-name straight, you've got to make it a really, really conscious effort to get through, because if you linger, you're stuck, like this sort of situation. This is the last position you want to be in for Lostowski, but he'll wait now as we look at Porchetta in the 48 for the first time. Having a good run, Scott Porchetta.
Yeah, running 8th place, still running the 58 lap times. I mean, he's up there. He belongs in the top 10 right now with the times that he's putting down. So he's just keeping it out there, keeping it consistent.
Scott Porchetta, of course, does a lot of the SVRA races, so he probably gets more laps per weekend than anybody. But none of those laps have been in the wet so far. But Scott has been learning his way bit by bit. A music man, as we call it. But he's certainly now an accomplished TA2 driver and well deserving of this top 10 position. He's ahead of Mock, a youngster. And of course, don't forget, the Big Machine Vodka team won in the Xfinity Trophy. Of course, he backs that team and got their first win a couple of weeks ago. So things are looking good for Team Porchetta.
Yeah, Porchetta and the Big Machine Vodka team is just such a cool sight to see at these events. He's got a toy chest of cars, which he also brings to the track because, like you said, he's driving all kinds of different things at every single track. So he's having a blast out here, and he's getting some extra practice, which is always good to have.
Well, of course, he runs Tyler Reddick, and he also runs Jade Buford, who was here yesterday, and Jade was filling in for Connor Mosak, so he's a racer's man for sure. He's quite happy to help where he can as we look at Barry Bowes and Tyler Casera coming into the picture now. Man running still in second place, trying to keep off Evan Slater. The gap between them just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, when we were riding along with Porchetta, it looked like Lostowski was getting up next to him. Lostowski started in 11th place, and he's currently sitting in 23rd, so something must have pushed him back. So we're seeing him kind of try to work his way back up to the grid, so I wonder if he was facing an issue earlier.
We've just been giving information that Merrill is actually running on wet tires.
Wow.
Which actually does explain how, A, he's able to gap Tyler Casera as well he's done in the last few laps because of this wet conditions at the back of the track. But it doesn't explain how he's done 20 laps as good as he has.
So I think the award for best strategy has got to go to Merrill because he only suffered a couple laps on those wet tires, but now it's kind of paying off as long as he didn't melt them during those dry laps. But right now, he's making it look like he can serve them perfectly because he is stuck to the road. You can see right there.
Yeah, and he is a very well, what should we say? Not conservative, that's the wrong word. He's a very smooth
driver. Yes, you do not want to be in Merrill's. He will make an opening and take it. But when it comes to just setting down laps, being clean, and not putting a wheel off, I'm not sure I've ever seen that guy make a mistake.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be a midfield driver in this situation because you've got guys like Raffler and Skeen coming through at big-time speed. And then you've got guys like Merrill who are trying to let people unlap themselves because they're either on a different tyre strategy or they've just pitted and they're back out on slicks and they're therefore going fast. But this track is half wet, half dry. It's tough.
Yeah, it's such a tough spot to be in, especially a midfielder. It's like if you're racing Le Mans or some sort of endurance race, and when it starts to get real rainy, visibility goes down, you might be asking your spotter, okay, that car behind me or the one behind them, is that for position or is that the class leader?
This is turning out to be another great Lime Rock race. Rhett Barco just going through onto the main straight again. And interestingly, Darren Mock now up into the top 10 and Mike Skeen just ahead of him in 9th position. So Skeen has made his way through into the top 10. He's now behind Scott Borchetta. How quickly can Skeen get back with the leaders, I wonder? Let's find out. We're on board with him now.
Yeah, Skeen in the top 10 with the tire change on top of that.
Yeah.
Running through pit lane, 40 miles an hour maximum speed through there, and changing 4 tires. That eats up so much time, but he's getting it done.
There's Borchetta. He's got him in his sights, and that didn't take long. On the exit of 6, see ya?
Yeah.
Mike Skeen makes that easy work.
Yeah, his car was stuck. So far at least, it's looked like he made the right tire decision, but we'll see if it rains more. I'm still kind of gambling on Merrill ultimately having on the wets. Skeen right now it's paying off for the time being, but we'll see.
Yeah, we go back on board with Skeen, and he's now looking for the next car to get past if he can, going through left-hander. And there really isn't an overtake here. There's a possible overtake at the end of No Name Straight, but you've really got to be confident. We watched it yesterday, didn't we, Cameron? And you were saying that you know, you can make a move there, but you can get it wrong there too.
Yeah, you can. I'm not sure it's always a good idea though. When you see that wall on the outside, it comes up to you awfully quick.
So a fascinating race as we go back on board with Barry Bowes now, the Texan. And this has been a good run so far from Barry. He had to pit as well. And Bowes all the way down in, what, 22nd place at the moment. But he too trying to make his way through. Merrill with traffic. He's got his teammate in the HB Tuners team, effectively. Just behind, or just in front of him. And Rafa Matos is behind both of them.
Oh, breathing down his neck too. He's keeping pressure on as well. Just asking, how are you going to handle this traffic? Because if you don't make it through, I'm going to find a way through. You better not wait up on this guy.
This is interesting because Merrill won't want to let Rafa by.
Oh, and here he goes.
I say that, he may not have a choice, and Rafa makes a nice move up the hill. You don't see many passes there, but Rafa, the Brazilian, the rider on Fox, brilliant move on the current leader.
Oh,
and now he's going to do
between
project
teammates.
as well.
Yep.
So Rafa, who isn't in contention against them, but I just thought that Merrill might just hold him back because, as we all know, the yellow perils that are the three-dimensional services group of 4 cars. And he's down in 18th position, but he's trying to get through. He's trying to do what Skeen's doing, which is to get as many places as possible. And Merrill choosing, quite rightly, not to fight with him there and get into trouble because it could ruin both their races.
Yeah, especially running so close with the teammate and everything. I mean, we're still just about halfway through the race with changing weather conditions. I am still surprised to see lap times still are not off by all that much. So even though it looks like it's wet, that dry line is still sticking around. So we've seen Merrill go offline a couple times to get those tires cool. So it looks like he's doing a great job of keeping them healthy through this whole thing.
Well, I thought that Mosak might be coming through, but he seems to be struggling. He too is in the mid-20s at the moment and hasn't really made up any major places. As making some inroads on the 77, Evan Slater starting to get ever closer to Tyler Casera. And this is the battle at the moment. Slater, as we go back on board with him. Where, Cameron, will he make the move? I mean, look at this.
He's got to start it from here. He's got a good run. It looks like he does. But right there, he had to check up just a little bit at the apex, which means that just killed his straightaway speed. So it seems doubtful that he's going to make it into 1 unless he does a serious dive bomb maneuver. But at this point, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and as you can see, Casera gets into the middle of the track. And now he's got Borchetta on the outside. Let's hope Borchetta doesn't come back in online and get in the way. And he kind of has done that, but it's not his fault. Evan Slater's in his own race. Now he has to go high and wide into left-hander.
Yep, to try and set up the next one on the right, so he'll get a little extra speed through here, see if he can get a run through this right-hander. Looks like he's got it. Don't get checked up in the middle.
Yep. Borchetta not giving him a lot of time. And he's not going to get through at No Name, or is he? He's trying to Rafa Matos, and he does make it.
Oh,
but that's right in the needle. Nicely done. And in a moment, Borchetta's going to see him pop through. There is Slater.
Yeah, he is looking all around, filling his mirrors, saying, come on, man, make some room. I'm going to find my way through here one way or another.
But
now,
look
get
how
it right through here.
Look how Casera's getting away, though.
Yeah, Borchetta just missed the apex by a little bit, but still, Slater's running so close to him that any time that Borchetta gets on the brakes, Slater's forced to do the same, and it just kills his run on the exit.
It's our first look at Michel Abate just coming through as well. But Slater still not passed, and this is playing into Casera's hands nicely. Slater looking for a podium, but being held up by the 48 of Scott Borchetta. Now, we could have another dimension to this. We haven't thought about it or haven't mentioned it yet because it's been so exciting. But we do have a caution. I thought I saw out of the corner of my eye that was going to be a full course caution. That changes everything. Cameron, if you're going...
Yes.
What goes through your head at this point?
I mean, the first half of this race, there's so much going on. The field is so mixed up. And so now, anybody that's fighting for position, you can take a moment to breathe, let the field pack back up, and now you've got a second go at this just halfway through the race.
Now, we talked about this, and this is something David Hoots... Oh, that's why. We've had a big off, the number 98.
Yeah, that's Doug Winston.
That's Doug Winston, obviously, and, yeah, they're getting the trucks to him. The problem with this tiny circuit is the only way to get trucks to them is via the track.
Yeah.
So, you know, so they kind of they're forced into a full course yellow. What I was going to mention, let's see what happened, but what I was going to mention, there it is. You can see it's in a precarious position there on the exit.
Right off the big bend there.
Yeah. But what does David Hoots do now? Because we've seen him try to basically instigate a situation where he tries to get the order of the race back together by bringing people through the pit lane.
Yeah, so Trans Am was experimenting with this procedure, and it actually worked pretty well, where they're going to take the cars that are lapped or lap traffic and pull them off to reorder the grid so that the lead cars are in the front so that the lap traffic does not get mixed up in any of the front end battles, which helps clean up all of the track action when the green flag comes back out. It lets the leaders fight the leaders. It lets the mid-packers and the lap traffic have their own battles, everybody being around the like speed, like cars.
When you say it, it sounds easy. I wouldn't want to be David Hoots trying to do this right now.
If we're doing this at like a 3 or 4 mile track, that's not so bad. But we're doing it at Lime Rock. The logistics of this, I am not jealous.
Plus, we've got a car strewn out on track. It started to rain even heavier. Do you come in for wets?
Yeah, we were seeing it out the window. I should really have the radar up. I'm sure all the teams are looking at the weather predictions. It is coming down now, especially with this yellow flag. The cars are not cleaning up the track or drying off the track as they once were either. They're going at a slower pace, so it's giving the rain more time to collect up, and we can see those decisions being made now.
That's the answer to one of my questions. Are they going to come in and change tyres? We just saw Misha Goikberg coming in the 20 for BC Racing Cars, and I think we may see several. Now we're starting to see it. Rafa's in.
Back.
Rafa's going back to wets, and so too is Skeen. And this is going to get very interesting indeed.
This
Two of the fastest guys out there.
This is the opportunity to make these kinds of changes, because if your crew is fast enough, you can get this done without losing a lap.
That's Doug Peterson, actually, we're watching in the 87. So Doug Peterson and Rafa making those changes.
It looks like those were worn reins coming off and new reins going back on, actually.
Yeah, interesting. So Skeen's still out there, but we presume he's on slicks.
So it makes me wonder if Skeen is only doing a partial season this year, since he's not going for points, he might be a little bit of a lower priority as far as tire changes go. Yeah. So he might come in a lap or two because, well, they only have so much crew that they can have to change tires. So he might be coming in after they're done with those other three-dimensional cars.
And incidentally, this is Doug Peterson's 100th Trans Am race. Quite an accolade by the team owner. So he's been running around doing this now for 100 races in all. So congratulations to Doug Peterson, the owner of the three-dimensional services team, of which there are 4 cars out there. He runs them all, including Mike Skeen. I wondered at first why he brought Skeen in, given that you've got Rafa Mados, and that, given that the team is so strong. Adam Andretti, they did a great job to help Rafa to his title last year. But it's proved to be really strong, and because they're such an open and smart team, they're like, listen, we'll take data from wherever we can, and we respect Mike Skeen better than anybody else out there, so bring it in. Now look at how many are coming in. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars coming into the pit lane, 5 cars now. So big decisions being made at this point.
Yeah, they just keep coming in. You see Michelle Abadi coming in as well. So,
and this could be Hoots
just here, cars reorganizing.
This could also be Hoots doing his, basically trying to get the order back to what you said, exactly what you said earlier.
Yep. So here's where that procedure takes place. You see them just release them right back out, real quick and hopefully easy. Hopefully that's all the sorting that needs to take place.
Wow, that's impressive. Hoots doing a really good job. And don't forget, David Hoots was a NASCAR race director for some 30 years. He knows what he's doing in these situations. And a smart decision, and something that Formula One might learn a little bit about. They got that wrong last year. We won't talk about that. But Skeen is in, Mike Skeen. and he is now going to change, I would suggest, back to wet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking out the window here, the rain is just coming down harder and harder. This looks to be the direction of the remainder of the race. It's just that it's going to be wet, and you're going to want to stay on those rain tires for the rest of it. I mean, at this point, it's starting to build up where even if the sun came out, I'm not sure it has enough time to dry off for slicks anymore.
Well, Tony Garcia doing a great job in the pit lane. We need to send him a poncho, I think. He's getting soaked as well. But as it stands at the moment, Thomas Merrill leads this race. Tyler Casera, Evan Slater is third, Cameron Lawrence fourth, Rhett Barco fifth, Elias Anderson is sixth. Things will change, though, as we start to file out and they start to reposition themselves with different tyres, and likewise, we should have no lap traffic to deal with at the start. I say that because it won't take long before they're getting into traffic again.
Yeah, and it might be quicker this time around until they run into traffic, because rain, as they say, is a great equalizer. So we're going to see different experience levels shine through, but anybody that's not going to be struggling.
And Cameron, I would say without a doubt, this is the heaviest rain we've had so far since this race began.
Yeah, I just had a look at the radar, and it looks like the water is only getting worse from here. So hopefully it does not get too bad that anything has to be delayed or slowed down, but these drivers definitely have a challenge.
Well, it has to be Memorial Weekend, it has to be Limewalk, and of course it has to be raining. It seems every time I've come here anyway, it's been like that, but that adds to the excitement. The fans, they don't care what weather it is. They're out there in their RVs and enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying it wherever you're tuning in around the world. But this is Trans Am at its finest. We've been coming here since, well, the early 60s, mid-60s. Peter Revson winning the first race some 55 years ago. And all the greats have been here. Donahue won here in a Camaro. Revson, as I mentioned. Sam Posey, who the straight is named after, won in a Mustang back in 1969. Parnelli Jones, of course, has won here. But more modern times, Merrill, Lawrence, all out there today have won here. Likewise, Mike Skeen has won here. Can he do it again today, I wonder?
Yeah, that's why it's so tough to make predictions for this track. When we look at the past winners and everything, there's been no dominant force here. Nobody that has, you know, a real home field advantage of always coming up on front. We have got a variety of winners, which means it could come out to anybody, especially with the wet. Who's got the wet experience? Who might have dirt track experience in their background? Because I found that that often pays off a lot in these conditions.
Let's just emphasize this, looking at the championship. We've got a bit of time to talk about this. Cameron Lawrence, big day for him, just 1 point behind Thomas Merrill, who's only 4 points behind Tyler Casera. Tyler Casera only 2 points away from Skeen. So the top of the championship could be very different with Rafa, Matos, Casera, Merrill and Lawrence all packed up. Mosak, who is currently 6th in the championship, could be in trouble after this race. So there you see the championship standings for yourself. Matos with a 25-point lead. Like I said, Skeen not doing the full season, but this is massive for Casera, Merrill and Lawrence.
Yeah.
And Slater, to be honest. 1 point behind Mosak.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now, as it stands, the race for the championship has been for second place, but with Matos sitting further back, that's just going to tighten up the championship even more if things end up how they are right now.
Yeah, and Slater's going to be licking his lips. Brent Cruz out with an engine. Dylan Archer out with an engine yesterday. Not good news for those chasing the Young Guns Trophy and the Rookies Trophy. So a lot of changes as we hit the halfway point of this championship.
And it looks like pace car lights are off. I think the starting stand has a green flag ready.
There we go. So Merrill's got it all to do. Can he hold on to this hard-charging field of some plus 30 cars? We've lost a couple, but we're in green flag racing in very wet and treacherous conditions down the San Posey Straight.
Early green flag, but at least Merrill's held on to the front. We see a little bit of side-by-side going into the West Bend there.
Slater's opportunity. Cameron Lawrence trying to get past Barco. As we go on board, you can see how bad the conditions are, Cameron.
Oh, visibility is tough. It gets to a point where all you can see is the brake lights of the car ahead of you, and the rest of the track, you're just driving off of memorization.
To be fair, he's only got one wiper, so we're looking at the other side, which isn't being wiped, but he can see okay, but it's still not easy at all.
Yeah, I hope that the defoggers are working.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Evan Slater starting to make a move on Tyler Casera in these treacherous conditions. Down No Name, straight and up towards the hill again. Everybody jostling for position. Slater up over the crest. The car gets light. We watched them there yesterday. You can get very unstable there quickly. Down into the right-hander now. Flat out through here. Still no overtaking, really. Then under the bridge and into 7.
Yeah, I love seeing them go so planted through turns 6 and 7, too. I mean, still holding about 70 miles an hour. These Pirelli wet tires stick like glue. You would expect to see more sliding and more sideways action going on, but these guys are driving it almost like it's still dry.
Good, good. Defensive driver, Caseri gets into the middle of the road, throws up as much of a rooster tail as he can, and says to Slater, if you want by, you're going to go past me and my rooster tail. But then he gets out of shape. Casera out of shape as the Liqui Moly car 77 goes into turn 1. Slater's got an opportunity here, but he's not quite close enough, is he?
Yeah, he entered turn 1 braking on the inside, probably trying to avoid some of the debris or the water buildup, but he is looking slippery out there. He overshot the braking zone. He might be going through with just too high a speed trying to defend position, but it's hurting him every time that car gets sideways. He's scrubbing speed.
Well, this is incredible because it's so wet out there, not even the wet weather tires are giving them grip. Down the no-name straight and back up the hill they come. Evan Slater putting massive pressure on Tyler Casera. Casera, the former Miata man, against Evan Slater, the youngster.
Yeah, so Casera, if he's coming out of Miatas, he's got to have some experience dealing with racecraft and defending a position. So even if Slater comes up on his tail looking for room to pass, you know that Casera's going to make it difficult for him. He's used to pressure behind him.
This is fantastic racing, and Slater, you can see how tough the conditions are. You can hardly see Casera ahead of him, but he's there. Plus, they've got traffic to deal with.
Yep, so already, like I said, early on, there's going to be traffic to deal with even after that restart. We're only like 2 laps in or so, but everybody's starting to kind of find their way around, adjusting to these conditions.
On board now with Cameron Lawrence. His view, not much better, really, for the Franklin Road Apparel team, running for Ken Thwaites.
Yeah, I'll tell you from the driver's seat, when it rains hard enough, basically your only visibility when it's raining this hard is that split second when the wiper goes by and then the next second that the wiper goes by. And you're kind of trying to see where you're going in between those wiper slides.
Well, I'm looking out the window of our commentary box and it doesn't look as though it's getting any better. And under pressure now, Misha Goikhberg all over Cameron Lawrence. Whoa, big movement there. And through he goes, but you can barely see it. This is like a Le Mans film at the moment.
Yeah, that visibility is so difficult. Usually when it's dry, you can try and identify the weak spots of the car ahead of you, but right now you can see so little, so it's hard to pick out details of braking zones or maybe where they might be pushing or oversteering through a corner to find those advantages. Now you're just, like I said, going off of memorization and those brake lights in front of you.
Good restart from Casera. He's held his own and kept his head, no question about it. The question is, will the conditions get any better? I'm not sure they will.
Yeah, one thing I gotta give props to, I know that's repeated all the time, but these cars have no driver aids.
Yeah.
500 horsepower and about 500 torque, and your throttle, your traction controls your right foot. Yeah, it's really hard to manage this on 275mm width tires.
Slater through, and they are getting past Keith Prochek at this point, and now it gets a little bit more dicey as Goikhberg right there behind Slater as well. As far as my calculations are, Goikhberg is not racing for position. He's currently in 18 at the moment.
And there he goes by
but
Slater
he wants by,
there. So he's trying to get his spots back. He's trying to unlap himself by the looks of it.
And you've got to be careful if you're someone like, oh no, massive crash. Oh, nasty moment for Andretti as off he goes at high speed. That is a big off, and that's going to bring out at least a full course safety. But he's ripped the side of that car apart, and sadly it's the driver's side as well. But that's a big moment. I can see Andretti looking fed up. And yes, sure enough, full course yellow. But Andretti involved. Don't know if anybody else was involved, but we caught the end of that. And Andretti's sitting back and waiting because he's taken the net down to tell everybody that is basically the international sign that says, I'm okay. But I think he's got a heavy hit.
That was a hard hit. It looked hard. Thankfully, he looks to be okay. Obviously disappointed. You can see him moving around in the cockpit. It looked like he was by himself, though. I'm curious to see if there's anybody else involved.
I'm wondering if he came over the crest and then just got sideways when he hit some water.
Yeah, that is one tough thing about tracks like this. When it's so wet, that grass is like driving on oil. And so if you put a wheel off or go off for any reason, from the cockpit, it feels like you actually accelerate when you hit the grass. And there's no slowing you down. You can see how close those walls are. So there's very little room for error on a track like this in these conditions.
Andretti was behind Tai Young and in 18th position when the accident happened. And in a moment we'll get a replay and we'll see just exactly what happened. Misha Goikhberg, and that's the problem. You've got guys trying to get through the traffic, like Goikhberg and Andretti, and then you've got guys trying to hold position. So let's have a look, Cameron. Let's see it with your eyes as a driver. Yeah, I think he touched the grass.
Yeah, just sideways. Car's clean. He didn't touch anything yet until this wall hit right here. So that's just a wheel off in the wrong place.
And that's the no-name straight. I've got a feeling he may have touched a wheel on the grass there.
Yep. Coming off the exit, maybe just a little too much.
What a shame. So, Adam, let's just hope he is A-OK, because Adam, of course, a long-time member of the Trans Am fraternity. One of the most affable guys, always there to help the youngsters, and he will be bitterly disappointed. He wasn't happy with his qualifying yesterday. You can see conditions not easy as we're on board with Scott Borchetta, but I hope to have Adam up here in the commentary booth later in the weekend, and he'll, I'm sure, explain what happened, but that car is a mess at the moment, sadly. Look, you can see them dragging parts of the car off. It is down no-name straight, isn't it?
Yeah. My guess is a wheel dipped off on the exit of the right-hander leading up to it.
Or there was sitting water.
Yeah, which we're starting to see. You can see it offline. We're getting standing water here and there. These cars, they're not ultralight like an open-wheel car, but they're still 2,800 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of weight for a car, especially with this much power. And so when you drive over those pools or those little lakes, you can still get some hydroplaning action going on, which can really throw the car off, even if you're going in a straight line.
So we're under full course safety here at Lime Rock at the Memorial Weekend Classic, and we've had a strange one because it started off, well, in drizzly conditions. We had a bit of rain this morning. It dried up a bit, and as we stand, Merrill leads this race by Tyler Casera by 3.5 seconds. Evan Slater's looked very good indeed. He is in third. Lawrence fourth. Baku is in fifth, and little behind him is Jim Gallagher, which is a surprise. That's the highest I've seen Jim Gallagher, who you know well.
That's really cool to see. He came from the West Coast.
Of course. So that would be a great result for him. Likewise for Darren Mock, who is currently in 7th position. Elias Anderson 8th. And Scott Borchetta's dropped to 9th now, having been up there in the top 8. And Aaron Petipas from Canada is in the top 10. And he'll be surprised at that because he, started 17th?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see because of these conditions changing. Oh no, we start on wet tires. Now we got to switch to slicks. Now we got to change to wets. I feel like the whole field is just so mixed up because it just screwed over everybody's strategy on how they approach this one.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what Rafa Matos does now from 13th position. Who else? Mike Skeen in 19th at the moment. And you'll see again, Cameron, as you pointed out to our audience, but let's just re-emphasize it. The race director will now try to get this into an orderly fashion by bringing the guys that have been lapped back into the pits and giving them effectively a drive-through to try to sort out the field. So you'll start to see it now.
Yeah. Trans Am is actually one of the few series to implement this kind of procedure, and so far it's worked great. I would love to see this being used in more and more series because you see it across the board when the lap traffic starts coming into play. The worst place to be in is if you're a slow driver and you're the next car behind the pace car under a caution flag, because you're looking in your mirrors and you're seeing all these other fast your neck behind you thinking, oh no, how am I going to handle this?
Yeah, the worst thing would be for your first run as a 17-year-old at Lime Rock in these conditions. I would be hating that because you just can't learn anything. You're just hanging on.
Yep. And you can see fog is starting to come into play. Mattis's windshield is starting to fog up. He's got some spots that looks like maybe the defoggers are blowing on. I hope everybody soaked their windshields with some molecule anti-fog spray in preparation for this. But at this point, you might be kind of ducking or shifting to the side, trying to look for what little pockets you can on the windshield.
So it looks like he's got little patches that are heating up the windshield, but not completely. Is it enough to see, I wonder?
Yeah, so most of these cars have kind of a electrical blower, this high-speed fan that sits in the dash, and then you've got these vents placed on top of the dash that are blowing up at the windshield. So It's not completely open. So what you're seeing is those little spots, those little pockets that defroster is able to get covered.
You're getting the insights of Cameron Parsons, Rookie of the Year back in 2020 on the West Coast. Delighted to have him on board with this. I'm delighted you're here because this is one of those races where you need an expert, definitely.
Yeah, I think I've got the second best seat in the house. It's always best to be in the driver's seat, but this is pretty great seeing from this perspective.
Now, this should be, I don't know if it will, but we're going to go racing again. The pace car comes off and Merrill will have to do it again. He lights it up again. Will it be for the last time? Casera, if he's going to make a move, needs to do it now. And he does dive in right behind Thomas Merrill.
Yep, the restart rules are a little bit looser from the first start. We have to wait until the green. Everybody starts in order, no jumps. But for any restart, you're able to get a little bit of a jump on the start-finish. So Merrill, being well aware of that, got on the gas early, did not have to do any defense going into turn one.
And Cameron Lawrence was the man on the move. He got away well and got ahead of Evan Slater. That's why we're on board with him. He's currently in third. And you can see the conditions aren't easy. This is where Andretti had his spill, and that's why we were under caution. So Slater loses position there at the start of that one. I think he got hung out to dry, if I can use that expression on a day like this, but he basically got hung out to dry on the outside of turn one, and he's dropped 2 places now.
Yeah, so now that even though the whole track is wet and those wet tires are going to be effective, it's still going to be a challenge going offline because we've had some dry track here for the last couple days with cars driving on the dry track, setting marbles off of their tires, pushing dirt and debris offline and everything. But now all that is getting mixed in with the water. So if you go offline at any moment, it's way, way worse because it's wet and it's dirty and it's covered in marbles.
Yeah, Cameron Lawrence made a mistake just exactly as you said that. And that's allowed Slater to catch right up. That was at turn one. They're going through turn two now. And Slater trying to gain back that position from Lawrence. And he's got Rhett Baku right behind him, so he's got to be careful.
Yeah, you can see Lawrence is just barely missing the apexes, and I think he's doing it intentionally to stay off of those slicker parts of the track where both rubber and water have built up and are preventing the grip that those wearing tires are looking for.
This is a fascinating race so far. Look at the way Merrill's got away. I'll tell you what, Merrill, if he does win this race, you have to take your hat off to the expertise he's put into this, because he's been questioned a bunch of times in different situations, both in dry, in wet, choice of tyres and so on, and he's been up to the mark on each and every time they've had a restart, so he's doing it again.
Yeah, he's been playing this race so smart. I mean, you saw at the beginning, he wasn't doing any crazy moves or anything. He was being patient, he was letting cars ahead of him battle it out, and when an opportunity opened up, he took it. And ever since he got up to the front, all he's been doing has been turning clean laps, turning consistent laps, even on the wet tires when it was dry. He's just holding on to it.
Well, we've had some outstanding performances here, and one of them is with this young man, Evan Slater, at the moment. Going to keep an eye on him because he's got a chance of a great podium here, and of course, with Brett Cruz not scoring and Dylan Archer not scoring, he's got a chance to really put himself amongst them when it comes to the rookies and the Young Guns trophy.
Yeah, it's real interesting to see the different lines that Slater and Lawrence are driving too. I mean, I tell students that I instruct, oh, Slater's taking a peek, backing out of it. He's just hanging around, he's filling his mirrors. But I tell students that I work with, when you catch up to a car that's slower than you, you don't want to adapt to their driving. You want to continue the same laps you've been driving because that's what made you faster. And so we're seeing Lawrence taking some of these corners a little bit wide. Maybe that's what works for him, but Slater is still doing his own thing because that is what keeps him on Lawrence's tail.
Yeah, and let's just put this into perspective. Cameron Lawrence has won this race quite a few years ago and has been a regular in Trans Am for many years and is an accomplished driver. And it looks as though Keith Crutcher, the number 9, is also out. But Evan Slater, just 16 years of age, so doing a heck of a job to be putting this kind of pressure on an experienced and former winner here at Lime Rock.
Yeah, such a mix.
Oh, he could go for it here. Go on, get your foot in, son.
Just hold it, just hold it. It's going to be a game of chicken. Slater's not favored, but he's going to go for it anyways.
Go on, Slater, side by side up the hill. You know Lawrence isn't going to pull out, but Slater is neither. They're still side by side as they come into 6. Slater's going to have to give in.
Such a risky turn to go side by side in.
Well, that was great racing, but smart racing by both of them. That could have ended in tears. but Lawrence kept his foot in. But for how long he's going to hold off this kid, I'll never know.
Yeah, well, Slater being in this seat right now, he's able to observe, look for Lawrence's weak spots. Now that he's had some time, he can take a look and see where can I get a run. But take a look at this, Matto's coming around now too, rolling around the outside of Slater. He's taking the outside line. Man, he is on rails. How stuck he is on the outside of that bend.
And here comes Rafa. Rafa's back into the hunt, as it were. Looking at Rafa Matos. Great racing so far by the championship leader. As we go back on board with Cameron Lawrence. This is great racing, and this, I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. This is absolutely superb stuff.
Yeah, some of these cars like Matos that are working their way back through the field, I'm sure they want to pick off a couple cars and then get another yellow, and then pick off a few more and then get another yellow.
Well, I'm just amazed at, we mentioned Jim Gallagher a moment ago. I hope he sticks to where he is at the moment. This will be one of the best results of, for quite some time now. Up in 9th at the moment, ahead of Darren Mock. Skeen is currently in 15th position. Now, Conor Mosak, I said he'd make an appearance, he is. And he is in 14th position as we watch this battle that continues. Lawrence all over the back of the 89. What can he do?
Yeah, Matos and Skeen, they must be sharing the same setup because they are both working their way through traffic, sticking so well to the track in these crazy conditions.
And Mosak's just ahead of him in 14th position. Birdwell 13th. Matos is up the road slightly. He's got Sheehan ahead of him. But Matos is the one to watch now to Andretti's house. We go back on board with Lawrence. There's Goikberg. Now, he made a pit stop. Now, what's he on, I wonder? Surely he's on wets because you couldn't race at this pace on slicks.
Right, I would imagine anybody at this point has got to be on wet tires. If they're on slicks, they've got to be, 40 seconds off the pace. Yeah, exactly. It just can't happen.
Goikberg does get through on Lawrence, but of course that is not for position. Goikberg just trying to make a move, trying to get back up the field.
Yeah, that visibility, that rain is just getting worse and worse. I think it's still coming down pretty hard there, but...
yeah, Slater got through with Goikberg. Yep. He basically used Goikberg to make his move, and it made it easier than trying to go head-to-head with Lawrence. So either Lawrence has given up on the ghost on that one, or he's got, thinking he was letting just Misha go by, he's let both of them by. And look at the vision that Matos has got. It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, it's starting to make sense now when we saw Lawrence earlier staying off of some of the apexes. When they went through the apex at turn 2, there was water pooled up in there. Lots of these turns, there might be a slight amount of camber where water builds up at the bottom of the turn, right up next to those apex spot, where if you hit it just wrong, you're going to hydroplane right at the apex.
Now, Slater, can he get on level terms? He's not that far behind, but time is starting to run out with 12 minutes to go as he dives into turn 7. Visibility still not a premium. Really, really skillful driving by all of the drivers out there. You really, on a day like this, can't really throw stones at anybody today. This is absolutely excellent. Tyler Castera has equipped himself well, very well indeed. And maybe it just helps the form of Miata man. A small circuit, tight racing, wheel-to-wheel stuff.
Yeah, some of the Miata drivers are some of the bravest drivers I've ever seen. They've thrown themselves into such crazy situations and somehow always find a way out. So he's dealing with maybe 1,000 pounds extra and maybe about 350, 400 more horsepower than what he might be used to, but he is handling it.
Those are semantics, aren't they? But that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is so different. Evan Slater, we're continuing on board with him. We'll keep an eye on just how much time he can take out of Tyler Castera. The gap just under 2 seconds at the moment, and time still on the board. 11 minutes to go, 59 at the 68.
Yeah, an interesting thing about this track, interesting, some damage on the front end.
Is that Mosak, or is that Leeson? It's Mosak's car that's damaged, so that's another reason why Mosak is not making it further than 14th. He's got up that far, but that looks rather nasty for the 28. And here's the onboard of Skeen. Now what's happening here? Well, we can't see, but he hopefully can.
Yeah, he must be swimming in his cockpit right now.
It looks what it looks like, but I think it's just his onboard.
Oh, and he had a BC car next to him by the looks of it.
Yeah,
that
they
may be
did. They had
Goldberg.
Misha next to him, but don't be fooled by that. He's up to speed because you can see from the miles per hour on the dash that he is still running at absolute speed. But now Slater is reeling in Tyler Casera. Now we've got a battle for the finish here. Over the hill in the crest they come. Slater's right there with Casera.
Yeah, you can see every lap they come by, he's tightening up that gap too. He is actually gaining on him.
No question that he's putting the pressure on, but where? Should be at turn one if he gets good drive here. But again, slight mistake by Casera. Surely this is a chance for Slater. Would you see that as your chance?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with only 8 laps left to go and 55-second laps, there's basically no other chance to get it done. You've got to start looking for those openings right now.
Well, this is intriguing stuff because Slater has got to make a decision. If he goes ahead of Casera, he also leaves himself open to be popped, to be popped off in terms of an overtake by Casera himself, because he can see what he's doing once in front.
Exactly.
You can see Casera in trouble here, and that's playing into Evan Slater. But does he want to wait maybe a couple of laps so he can make the move and make it stick? Oh, Casera really in trouble.
Yeah.
Almost did an Andretti there as the blue flags wave. Here comes Slater up the inside of Casera. He's trying it again. He didn't get it done with Lawrence. He's got it done here on Casera. Excellent move by the 16-year-old.
Nicely done. So he's got to move on to the defensive while he's working his way through traffic with cars up ahead. So at this point, not much time remaining in the race. Get through that traffic, try and get you and Casera behind you.
We've had all sorts of drama in this race. Tyler Casera putting on a heck of a show in the Liquid Moly Turn 14 distribution car, which of course was in the hands of Mike Skeen up until this season. And we're back on board with Cameron Lawrence down the San Posey straight. Lap 61 now.
Yeah, Cameron Lawrence holding a pretty secure 4th place. He was probably spectating that battle up ahead from a little bit behind, hoping something might happen to slow them up. But now that that's all clear, he's only got a few laps to try and pick up the pace. I mean, his gap, he's still about 2.5 seconds off of Casera ahead of him, so he's got a lot to try and make up or wait for that mistake to happen in order to move forward.
So this has been an intriguing day of racing, and Thomas Merrill has put on a very, very Merrill-like performance in terms of, I don't think many drivers could pull this off the way he has today. He's just got everything right when all around perhaps we're making mistakes or making the wrong choices. But then again, you say that, and how do you make the right choices? It's a gamble, it's a lottery. You don't know what the weather's going to do. It's 34 cars out there on a 1-point-plus circuit. It really is so hard.
Yeah, I think Merrill's having the best race out here because we're not having to talk about him all that much.
That's very true. It was pretty funny. I talked to him yesterday, and he wasn't making any predictions because he couldn't.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know. I'll do what I can.
Honestly, I think that's the best approach. I mean, that's, I think, where some of the experience shines through, because if you go in with a plan of how you're going to do this race, you're lying to yourself, really. You got to just be able to, take these situations as they come to you. And so Merrill going in with that open mind, saying just, I'm going to take what happens, that's the experience.
How about that is a baptism of fire for Aaron Petitpas. I bet he's having a Dairy Queen tonight because he's going to deserve an ice cream. But the man from Canada, who's got a special retro throwback scheme coming into the championship this weekend, and not a known face perhaps, the the man from Nova Scotia in Canada, from Hartford, and welcome aboard, as they say. Really delighted to have him on. And sponsored by the Harris family, I'm sure. Well, he might be. But he is having a really good showing so far. He's in 8th at the moment, and he will not have expected to be that high up the board, and currently doing a really good job. And you'd expect a Canadian to come through in conditions like this,
absolutely.
wouldn't you?
Yeah, this is probably comfort zone for him, and it's really cool just to see this top 10 lineup. It's kind of a little bit unusual. I mean, we've got some common names in there, but some names that we have not seen in the top 10 in a while. I mean, Aaron for one, also Gallagher from the West Coast, still hanging out in the top 10.
And Scott Borchetta, 7th position, a really good performance by him. Rhett Baku, the only Dodge out there in the Baku, Berryman, Napa, MPEG, Dodge Challenger, doing a great job. We go back on board with Evan Slater, currently 2nd. What a weekend for the young Evan Slater, and what a weekend for Cube 3 Architecture Interior Planning. I know their sponsor is an Englishman, and this will really, really push them forward. They've wanted a result like this. He's been there or thereabouts, says Evan, And this is a great opportunity to shine, and he's done just that all weekend long.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at that. That's definitely the right equipment paired with the right driver. They put together such a well-sorted car. He's already building a significant in third place. So you know that he's comfortable out there. The car seems like they've got it dialed in just how they like it. So, yeah, huge props to that team.
Back with Cameron Lawrence, and he's, again, back in the wars, back in the traffic and trying to deal with it. Casera, I think, is going to just bide his time and get to the finish, and that's what's important.
No, he's trying to sneak in, but
he is, isn't he? Okay, go for it. Why not?
So he's going for it. He's on the left side going into the right-hander. And they are side by side through the no-name straight. And landed it right there. So Lawrence entering ahead going into the uphill.
Well, it's been an interesting day. It's not been a good one or an easy one for the three-dimensional services team. Big crash from Adam Andretti, sadly. Cameron Lawrence has equipped himself well too, another former winner, but Merrill is the man. As we go back down towards turn 7, conditions, well, they've improved since the restart, but not a great deal on track.
Yeah, it's mostly stabilized. It's just kind of just as bad as it was before. I think we do need to give a shout out to Tom Sheehan too, currently sitting in 9th place after starting 24th. He was pretty bummed about his practice and qualifying. They were diagnosing issues with the car, I think chasing setups and everything, but either they figured something out or he just loves driving in the rain, but he has gained more than 10 spots in this race.
Well, this is very much a home race for him too. 119 starts for Tom, and if Peterson is celebrating 100, well, it's 120 now for Tom Sheehan, the Iron Man, as Merrill now comes up. Excuse me, that's Prochuk coming up. So Keith Prochuk has been in the pits and back out again, so he's got back out now. But Evan Slater now tiptoeing, if you can do that, around Lime Rock, just trying to hold everything together. This is where he's going to start getting nervous. Just worrying that he doesn't put the throttle down too early, trying to hit his marks, not do anything stupid, and just run out the last 3 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, you saw him relax his hand a little bit on the spoke of the steering wheel. You're probably getting tensed up at this point. The laps are winding down. You're probably giving that steering wheel the death grip because you're trying to, you're trying to control the car. But as things get more and more intense and difficult to control, you kind of forget. Oh man, I'm putting a mold of my fingers into the steering wheel. So you got to stretch them out and make sure that you're still driving relaxed and taking what feedback those front tires give you.
It's so easy to do, yeah. Yeah, so Q3 sponsoring the 16-year-old phenomena that is Evan Slater. They've been with him since his professional debut. Q3 Architects based in Lawrence, Massachusetts, so just down the road. And this is a big race for them. Lawrence can do nothing about it, but he will take a podium. And he'll try to hold off Casera, who has had a good run at it. Rhett Barker, congrats to him too, if he finishes this one. But what a day it has turned out to be for one Thomas Merrill. Absolutely stunning performance in the worst of conditions, but he's held on, raced so hard.
Yeah, it was cool to see. We saw him in qualifying. He did a pretty short qualifying session. They only had 15 minutes, and I swear he only used 4 or 5 of them. He went out, he did his laps, came in, said, I'm good. He didn't need to be on the front row. He just wanted a comfortable spot where he could. He calculated his way up there by about the third way into the race.
Talk about a bounce back for the Bridge Hall HP Tuners Coke Car Racing Ford Mustang of Thomas Merrill. He has done it with a plume. Magic Merrill at Lime Rock. What a great race that's been for him. He comes into turn 1 and will take the white flag as 1 lap to go. Everybody else taking that white flag. But that has been a brilliant performance for Thomas Merrill. He now will just wind it down if he can and take his time. This could be a crucial lap. Mosak's in real trouble. That conditions got worse. Evan Slater coming across. He takes the white flag now.
Yeah, at this point, if you're not in a battle, just keep it clean. Don't do any wrong. Just keep the wheels on track. Don't dip into the grass.
And Lawrence is going to take 3rd, no question about it. Casera will settle for 4th. Baku 5th, and Anderson. Elias Anderson from Texas in 6th place. What a result for him if he can pull it off. Lawrence isn't done, though. Still got traffic ahead of him. Still battling. But Thomas Merrill Surely now we'll see that checkered flag coming. What a day here at Lime Rock. It never, ever disappoints here on Memorial Weekend Classic, and it's done it again as taking the checkered flag. Magical Merrill does it. What a great, great victory for he and his team. While others got it wrong, they absolutely got it right, and Mike Cope and his team can be very happy with how they prepared that car. And likewise, Bridge Hall, his sponsor. What a day for them, and HP Tuners, his long-term sponsor, has been really given something that they wanted, which was a great result. Thomas Merrill taking victory then, ahead of Evan Slater in second place, and Cameron Lawrence taking third. And let's get down. There's some other stories. Obviously, Elias Anderson, I mentioned him in sixth place. Scott Borchetta, a great result for him. Rafa Matos did exactly what I thought Rafa might do, despite the conditions. I think he would have done this at the dry. He went all the way and kept out of trouble and manages to go from, what, 5th to 8th. He comes across the line ahead of Tommy Sheehan in 8th position. And for a championship leader, that is a smart move. Casera will have gained some time on him by taking 4th position. Likewise, Cameron Lawrence and Slater. So it's going to be tight at the top as they head to the doubleheader at Mid-Ohio and Road America. But it means the championship going into the second half of this 2022 season is hotting up nicely. What a day, though, for Evan Slater. You've got to take your hat off to the Cube 3 Architecture Interiors Planning team and Evan Slater, the 16-year-old phenom. And he really did put a remarkable performance in there. Tough conditions. I think they're going to celebrate with him after that. Cool as you like. But as Cameron Parsons was quite rightly pointing out, he's probably gripping that wheel in sheer determination at the end there. But I think anybody who finished that race can be pleased with the performance, because in motor racing, you hope the conditions will stay stable. That's all you can really hope for. You don't mind if it's wet, you don't mind if it's dry, you don't care. But when it's changeable, then it's really hard, because you just can't make decisions as you normally would. You can't predict anything. You certainly can't predict what the other drivers around you are going to do. The only thing I can predict is that Thomas Merrill deserves a big trophy for that one. That was excellent stuff, top draw stuff. Not bad for a man who went round in his mother's Porsche 914 back in Laguna Seca when he was a little boy. She used to take him out and ride him round for lunchtime. Well, now he's got his own car, and now he's winning in it. Great stuff. So now a two-time winner at Lime Rock. Well done, and well done to the Bridge Hall sponsorship for bringing him here too. But you can see, really impressed with that. And I've set Cameron down to go and talk to him, and I'm sure it's going to be an interesting conversation. They know each other well, those two, because of course, being from the West Coast, Cameron Parsons, a former Rookie of the Year, knows Thomas very well indeed. The man from Salinas, California. Maybe it's the short haircut. Great stuff. Doesn't matter. Merrill was on it today. Restart after restart. He's looking at the tires, and well, he might. Let's head down, and Cameron Parsons, I think, is going to be right in there to talk to his old mate, Thomas Merrill. Let's see what they have to say after what was a phenomenal race for one Thomas Merrill.
All right, Thomas Merrill, amazing fight. Started in third place. One question I got for you. Did you actually do that whole race on rain tires?
We did, yeah. I don't think there's very much tread left on them, actually. But, you know, I full credit to my team. You know, we knew we had a good race car, and they guided me through that whole race. You know, they were looking at the forecast. They understood what was coming, and I said, hey, guys, just tell me what to do. Tell me what lap time to run, and I'll do that. So full credit to them. They deserve this win. It's a long time coming for everybody. It's a good homecoming from the win 3 years ago here, so happy to be on the top of the box.
Yeah, excellent run. I mean, you had your work cut out for you. You started in third place, had a little bit of managing to do for traffic at the beginning. So, I mean, how was that trying to work your way up and then hold it with all that traffic out there?
Normally the traffic here is pretty bad, but everyone was really heads up. Full credit to the entire field. Everyone had their heads on a swivel. Everyone was super aware. I think everyone was equally as high-strained as I was as far as just staying on the pavement. But I can't say enough about this Mike Cope Bridge Hall HP Tuners team. It's a pleasure to race with them, and we're hoping for many more wins this season. We're going to need to if we want to get back in this championship.
Absolutely. Fantastic drive. Congratulations, man.
Thomas Merrill and all incredible. But a win then for Thomas Merrill, Bridge Hall, HP Tuners, Cope Race Cars.
Okay,
Mike Cope, very pleased with that. Evan Slater takes a brilliant second place for Q3 Architecture. Cameron Lawrence in third position for the Franklin Road Apparel team. And then Tyler Casera in the 77 takes fourth. Rhett Barku in fifth. Elias Anderson takes the best result of his season so far with 6. Scott Borchetta, another good result for the man from Nashville in 7th. Rafa Matos, our championship leader, consolidates his position with 8th. Tom Sheehan in 9th position. And Aaron Pettypass from Canada does a great job coming in for the first time this season and finishing in the top 10. Further down, it's Mock. Gallagher, good result for him in 12th. Goikberg in the end finished 13th. What an up and down day he had. Skeen 14th. Mosak up to 15th after starting at the back. Birdwell, Bender, Peterson, Prochuk, and Michelle Abate in 20th position. And a little further down, Lostowski sadly down in 21st after starting well. Bowes, Paul, Ty Young, Andretti involved in that big crash. Leesfield, Winston, Sanders, Cruz, and Zilich rounding out the top 30. And then Katenchi and Lustig, 31st and 32nd, so 32 in all, but Lustig didn't get many laps in. But let's take a look at what was a very, very interesting race from Lime Rock in 2022. Highlights, plenty of them. We started off in relatively dry conditions. As away they went. Skeen got overtaken by Misha Goikberg at the start, then came back. Tyler Casera going wheel to wheel, Slater not behind. And they started coming in and started to take tyre changes bit by bit. But then suddenly a big off from one of the three-dimensional services, Adam Andretti, ripping the side of the car off on no-name straight. Slater making audacious moves on Casera to get up into third position and then fought with Lawrence. But no one could stop this man. And Thomas Merrill gets his first victory of 2022. So, plenty of action throughout as the paddock reels on what was a fantastic race to watch. And our chill-out systems quantum cooler move of the race involves Evan Slater. Slater was just immaculate. His overtaking, especially this one on Tyler Casera, absolutely incredible. His ability to take the risks and pull it off, brilliantly done. And that's why he's our chill-out systems move of the day. So alongside me once again, Cameron Parsons. And Cameron, talking to your old mate Thomas, I think he was surprised to see you, but the perfect guy to talk to.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I instructed at a racing school with him a while back. And I mean, just even back then, this dude's been talented forever.
Yeah.
You could tell just in his instruction and how he handles a car and how he drives a rental car around a track. He is very fast, very calculated in everything he does. So
but how do you make a set of wet tires like that last 100 miles in dry and wet conditions?
Well, we could see as the track was drying off, he was doing such a great job of looking for those wet spots on course.
Yep.
So he was kind of the lone car that looked like he was driving the opposite line, but what he was doing was preserving those tires by finding the wet spots, hunting around for where he can cool those tires back down.
All right, well, it's time for the podium, and a well-deserved one, as once again we return to Greg Ricks, who's going to do the podium celebrations. Let's head down.
We'll do the Sunoco's. Okay, hello Lime Rock. Are you out there? What an amazing race we had. And I'm going to try to do some, what I call the smarter than Eric phone to make this work out. So we're going to bring up our Masters first. Let me see John. John, we're doing Masters first. Yes. So this gentleman is a pillar of our racing community, and I want to bring him up for a special award here as Masters winner of this race. Come on up, Doug. Doug Peterson, 87. Doug, you made it. You made it here. What was it like out there for your race?
You know, it really wasn't all that bad. I mean, of course, it's a little slippery. Got started off in kind of a couple little bad situations, but really it was a fun race. I got a chance to pass a lot of people. I think I passed a few people 3 or 4 or 5 times. I don't know. Because I passed the same people over and over again. So it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. Thank you for coming out in the rain.
Awesome. Doug, thank you so much. We're going to get you a photograph right here, and then we got your trophy as well. Masters is given out to a special group of folks there. We're going to switch your hat out to a P1. So we've got that one ready to go here. Thank you for your patience. We're working through a short group. Oh, the microphone is on the ground. I'll hold it here as close as I can. There we go. I think we got it back. Yep, I should get out of the way. One more time, Doug. I think they want the trophy because they don't want the picture of me. Yep. And one more time, Doug. You can't get out of the rain just yet. Can we have the whole Peterson Racing team up here? We have a special award we'd like to give to Doug. So everybody from Peterson Racing team, everybody, this is a special day as well for Doug. And where's their crew chief? Crew chief, come on over here for us, and we'll give this special award as well. The award that's being presented is for Doug Peterson's 100th Trans Am race. Please, everybody, get close. It's quite an accomplishment. One of very few of our racers who've done that. All right, that's a good group of people up there. Let's now clear the grid, clear the podium. I used to do that grid part. And let's bring up our third place TA2 driver, the number 6, Cameron Lawrence. Cameron, come up here. Cameron, we're gonna give you a Sunoco hat and a trophy here real quick. And I believe there was a race, or there was a pass, a few laps to go, at least less than 10. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, we actually lost a cylinder or two, I don't really know, like 10 laps into the race. So we were down on power the whole time, just praying for rain. And, you know, a few guys got by us. Evan drove a great race. Tyler was flying all race until the end, and I think the top 3 or 4 all wore out our tires when it was kind of dry. So I think that almost helped us, having a little bit less power at the beginning of the race, and saved a little bit more tire. But I mean, it was a battle. We were super lucky to get by them. It was really close, like door to door. I thought we were going to touch a couple times. But yeah, we just persevered and it paid off.
Great race for you and the team. All right, let's go to our second place. The 35, Evan Slater. Evan, come on up. We'll come over here to this side of the podium and talk to you about your race a little bit. How did it go out there?
Yeah, it was great. I had a ton of fun. Super thankful.
Oops, sorry, I forgot. Sunoco, one of our great sponsors.
Super thankful for Cube 3 Architecture and Stevens Motor Racing for making it possible. Like Cameron, we were also down a few cylinders, so that made it a little spicy. But the weather was interesting, so that definitely played into our hand, and I really enjoyed it.
Got some sponsors you'd like to thank out there?
Yeah, Cube 3 Architecture, Stevens Motor Racing, and Racemaker Press.
Excellent. Well done, Evan. All right, that's Evan Slater, P2. And we were watching this guy out there slipping and sliding all day, but he was out front most of the day. The 26, Thomas Merrill. Come on up, Thomas. All right, so that, yeah, got a little tighter. But you got a haircut.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
So Thomas, where you started third, right?
Yes.
How did you get up to the front?
Well, it looked like the other guys were a little bit more conservative on their rain tires than we were early on, so I found an opportunity to get ahead. And I knew we had a good race car, so if I can get in front and control the pace, I knew that I could probably save our tires as well, but I wanted to do that out front because the Mike Hope team gave me a great race car. I mean, this Bridgehall Mustang has been flying all weekend. And in these varying conditions, I think we had a little something over everybody, so I wanted to get out front and make it look good.
Awesome. Great race. Good seeing you out there. Let's get it out for Thomas Merrill. That's your winner. This is your podium for TA2, Lime Rock. A little hat dance here. Another one of our...
Zillage is here, but champagne. Chill out. Do Young Guns first, chill out last.
And what's his?
Boy Cam.
Yes, sir. I wanted to say Pirelli is our presenting sponsor for the race this weekend and also for the whole series. We're going to do another we're going to transition to a little champagne here. So we've got this going for you. What I want to do is let's go back here just for a second. We're going to bring up one more award while we have it here. There's an extra award that we give out, and it's called the Chill Out Award. And Evan Slater, right here, gets that award as well, the Chill Out Award. Evan, you get basically an award from Chill Out for $250.
Yeah, that's super happy for that.
All right, so let's get that check up here real quick, and we'll get that photo done, and then we'll do the champagne. Thank you, Michelle. Evan, a little round of applause for Evan as well. He gets a special award there. And then probably what you've been waiting for. Here comes the champagne in the fun.
We want them to go around the fence and say hi to the fans.
Yep.
We also have Zillage.
Yep. All right, guys, if you don't mind going around to the fence and say hi to the fans, we've got one more award here. And Connor is here. Is Connor Zillage here? Connor, come on up to the podium. I have a special award here for you as well. So Connor, you were out early in the race, but before that time, you got the fastest lap of the Young Guns. So that's what the Olo Legato watch goes to. How did you get that lap? Was it dry?
Yeah, we came in for slicks, and unfortunately, like 4 laps after we put slicks on, I was going really fast. Obviously, I had the fast lap of the race, but unfortunately, a radiator hose got punctured and our motor overheated, so I had to pull in, and our race ended early. But thank you to Silverhair Racing. We had a really fast car, but unfortunately, bad luck took us out of it.
Well, let's have another round of applause for Connor Zillage, the Omologato Young Guns Award winner. Thank you so much. Let's have some more racing. We'll see you tomorrow for the TA race.
Good job, man. Good job, Ben.
So that's the celebrations for the podium places on what has been a memorable Memorial Day Classic from Lime Rock. As it always is, we've been racing here in Trans Am 55 years. My thanks to Cameron Parsons for putting on a great show and helping us through what was a very complicated race. But that's what rain can do. But out of all of it, it was absolutely memorable. Certainly for Magical Merrill, what a day here at Lime Rock for the Merrill clan. Well done to him. And don't forget, we've got more great action coming on Memorial Weekend Monday, not tomorrow, Sunday, but Monday, when we will be bringing you all the action from TA, XGT, SGT, and GT. So another race of Trans Am, as well as our Speed Tour SVRA coverage as well. Once again, my thanks to Cameron for being with us this weekend. We'll have more action to come, like I said, on Monday. I'm Jonathan Green. I hope you've enjoyed our TA2 race. And congratulations to Thomas Merrill, his first win of the season.
As you can tell, I like to go fast. Our race team is really well prepared. We like to look good, but we also like to dress good, and that's why we shop at Franklin Road Apparel. I own the company, and I wear the clothes that we sell in that store. So check us out. We carry all the top brands: Baldwin, John Barbados, Billy Reed, Goodman Brand, and on down the list. So come see us, Franklin Road Apparel, Franklin, Tennessee.
If your tooling isn't quite ready, and you need parts, and you need more parts than just a few, or if your run is just not that big, look to the experts in low-volume production, 3-Dimensional Services. Whether it's 10, 100, or 1,000 parts, we can meet your needs. And if it's 10,000, we can do that too. 3-Dimensional Services delivers high-quality parts for short runs, 70% faster than industry standards. 3-Dimensional Services. Prototype, production, proven.
Menards is the Midwest's ultimate home improvement store. Family owned since 1958, Menards is the one-stop shop where you always save big money. Get the Midwest's best selection nationwide when you shop online at Menards.com. We make it easy to complete your projects around the house, big or small. From hardware to plumbing or paint to appliances, we carry it all. Visit Menards.com today to save big money at Menards.